most with the most, Doctor.
I love big titties.
Hey now, how's it going, Doctor? I love big titties. How's it hanging?
It's been a while since I've heard that, dude. It's music to my ears, quite frankly.
What do you mean? That specific intro?
Yeah, we haven't played the intro in a while, and it's definitely been the biggest gap I feel since we've done the last episode. So I think it's music. Quite frankly, I think it's music to everybody's ears.
Yeah.
What can I say? I mean, it's a legendary clip.
Yes, it is. We were debating at the top there, guys, if we were going to go with Christian's rant about how broads love pickles, but we went with this one. Yeah. It has been a minute, man. It really has. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, movie related and non-movie related, that I'm excited to get into. But as far as things go over there in the Louisiana, how's it hanging? You were telling me a story the other day about some issues out in the backyard, right?
Yeah. Well, we're in the process of doing a lot of shit in the backyard. We had a leak in the roof. I think I feel like that was a while ago, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe Tom's flying. And I better just get this out in the open because people are probably seeing this. I have developed a poison oak allergy. So I have it right here, a little bit on the back of my neck. I got some on my thigh, and I guess I was touching it because me and Sydney just like, I'm a simple dude. Like I just want the house to be clean and like the front porch and everything to look decent. But Sydney, like we've been going through the backyard, redoing everything. She wants to excavate all the like bush trees and stuff that are like 2 or 3 feet high. She wants to cut them all out. And we have a ton of poison ivy in the backyard, and it has just eaten me up. She's fine. She's not allergic to it. I used to play in the yard all the time. Like I lived outside. I never had an allergy to this shit when I was a kid. I literally got it as an adult, but yeah, I got this Benadryl cream that I've been rubbing on today. Thankfully it's not making it itchy, but God, but it's been brutal. So that's not been fun. Been dealing with that.
You ever had it before, or is this your first bout with it?
No, I've definitely had it in the last 4 or 5 years. But before that, before I lived in this house, I know that I never had an allergic reaction to poison oak, poison ivy. And I have gone to the doctor before, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you definitely have a poison oak." He says the doctor said it was poison oak, not ivy. So I don't know. I said, well, I didn't have a problem with this as a kid. He goes, I got news for you, buddy. As you get older, you can develop allergies and your body doesn't know how to handle stuff anymore as you get old. And I was like, well, great. So I've been dealing with that, which has just been a pain in my fucking ass, man. Like when I'm recording videos right now, I do this. I just keep my hands down because it's kind of self-conscious, dude. Like it's brutal.
Wear a
It's
long
brutal.
sleeve or like a hoodie.
Yeah, and I have been. I definitely have been. So
yeah. How long is that going to persist?
You know, maybe another week. Hopefully that cream, if I don't touch it, which is my biggest problem, you know me, I got to scratch the piss out of it. But City just gets on my case every time I do that. But hopefully within a week it'll start dying down. I'm certainly going to stay away from all that stuff in the yard. But we did that. Then before that, we had a leak in the roof. Called my roofing people that put the roof on because I was like, well, I'm sure they do repairs. Guy came out, redid the area around the chimney where he thought it was leaking. The next night, 4 days later, it rains again. Just just a funnel going into the living room. God damn! I call him up. Of course, it's in the middle of a storm that's going to last all night. So Sydney legitimately gets up there, gets a little saw blade, cuts a hole in the roof to where the water is not going to spread throughout on the sheetrock and damage it more. So it's just just rains all night. We got a big bucket in the living room just catching it all. So the guy comes out again and basically ripped off half of the backyard, all the shingles. Ripped off half of the back of the roof, that backyard. Just ripped off half the shingles in the back of the roof. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I need you to go to the store and buy shingles." I was like, "God damn!" So I had to go buy my own shingles at the store. Brought it to him. Finally, that got fixed. And you know what it is, dude. It's just like whenever one thing is done being stupid, something else happens. So sometimes I say people like renting is not all that bad. You're gonna pay more for renting, but when shit breaks, you'll be very, very grateful. You could just call somebody up and fix it, and you don't have to do shit. It's give and take.
Yeah. Well, we got
I don't shit on renting. You know, they get those people that are like, renting's just, you're just throwing your money away. I was like, guess what, man? Like, I got news for you. Like, you're going to end up in the same place I am. So if somebody just wants to fucking rent, let them fucking rent, man. Like, what's the big
yeah.
deal? It's give and
We
take.
had a cold front blow in last week, like unannounced. They had said, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be warm. Like we're getting a warm front." And I was like, "Oh okay, cool." And there was a day it was like 60 degrees, and I remember going to work the next morning. I looked at the weather app, and it said it was gonna be like in the mid 50s that day, and I said, "Okay, cool." And when I left work around 4:30 that afternoon, I walked out to my car and I was like, "What the hell?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, this unexpected cold front. We just didn't see this coming, I guess." But it brought with it a ton of wind and it ripped some of the siding off my house. But
Jesus.
again, I rent. So I call these mofos up. I'm like, "Hey, this is your problem, not mine," basically.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, so that is nice, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to, I want to own it, and I plan on it sooner rather than later. It's just more about finding the right spot because, as you know, when you buy a house, you're gonna be there a while, ideally. So it's like, am I cool with living here for 10, 15 years, basically? Like that's the question. And here in like the Dayton area, no, I don't really want to be here long term anymore. So it's kind of where I'm
Ohio is
at.
like when I think about, because me and Cindy don't want to. My family doesn't listen to the show, so like I'm okay talking about this. My When some of my older relatives kind of leave this earth in a respectful way, I'm not asking them to go anywhere. I want my family to live a long time. But my point is, when they do, and I have less obligation in this town, me and Cindy want to go somewhere. We want to go on. We want to go. I hear like some places in Texas, like we talked about out of Austin, somewhere right out of Austin, somewhere right out of Dallas. Cindy loves Michigan. I've been to Michigan a few times. I think it's beautiful out there. And I also want to live somewhere in New Jersey. But my point is, out of all the conversations we've had, not once have we ever thought about going to fucking Ohio. Like, not even a shred. We have no desire. The only reason I would go to Ohio is to visit Charles Mann. That's it. Because I told you he bought that. He has a mansion. He bought an old mansion and uses it as a film studio where he makes all his movies there. I would go there just to be like, put me in a film, Charlie. All right, sign this. Here's $10. Get your ass in there.
Yeah.
Like I would do that. But other than that, dude, I have no desire to go. No offense. Like I have no desire to go to Ohio.
You're not offending me. The only reason I'm here is because I was born here. I don't want to be here. I tell people all the time, and I'm allowed to say it because I live here, but it is crazy to hear it from somebody that doesn't live here too. Like, guys, Ohio largely sucks. Like it really does. Like there's nothing. You got like 2 amusement parks here. That's and then I guess people like Ohio State football, but Columbus is pretty much a shithole at this point, the city itself. So it's like there's just not. I don't really know why you'd want to come here. No, I plan on moving too, but I want to move out west. The only thing is, like, with my kid, I have to wait till he's older. But like, thought about Arizona. I've thought about the Pacific Northwest. I've definitely thought about like San Diego. Dude, I love San Diego. One of my favorite places I've ever been. So like, I'm sure I'll move eventually. I've been to Jersey, Christian. Let me tell you something. It ain't cheap. It's definitely not cheap.
Yeah. There's cost of living is definitely higher there. But you know what, dude? They got culture there. They've got diners there and they've got all kinds of cool shit. Like, dude, where I live, it's like going to Target is considered like a day out, you know? So, I mean, I want to. And listen, for everybody listen, I'm not getting political. This is all I'm saying. But when you look at some like in the South, which part of me would like to stay in the South. If you go to like a big red state like Texas, but you go to some of those cities that lean more blue, I'm just being honest. The culture there, it's way more fun. Like I said, right outside of Dallas, right outside of Austin, there is so much shit to do. It is so like I have friends that watch the channel that live out of there, and they'll say, Christian, I'm right outside Dallas. I just went to the Alamo. I just saw Dawn of the Dead on this awesome screening, and they had this huge fun event for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, God, I want to go see Dawn of the Dead in the theater. Like, so that's where me and City have been looking about where to live is like a small town 20 minutes out of Dallas. Cause I don't want to live in the city. I want to live right near the city. You know what I'm saying? That's how I roll. And which is kind of what I do now. I'm outside of Shreveport, which is like the big city in Louisiana. And I love going to Shreveport. Shreveport's fun. But even then, like the boardwalk, which had all kinds of cool shit, dude. It's the boardwalk there in Shreveport. It's dead, dude. 80% of the stores are literally just shut down. The movie theater there is open, the Regal movie theater, and then other than that, it's like a shoe store that's still open. But dude, all the other shit, even some of the food places, Nick, it's kind of creepy going in the boardwalk. It's empty. Nobody's there. Every store shut down, and that's just crazy. So I want to go somewhere where you can't buy those experiences online or you can't do whatever. Like you go to these specialty stores, go to premium places like Alamo Draft Houses and all that kinds of shit. I want to live somewhere where I can experience that on a routine basis. And I will. And I'll more than likely try to raise a child out there. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to be here forever. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
No, well, then the question becomes like, honestly, I mean, your parents will still be around for a while. So is this more of like, when your grandparents are gone?
Yeah. I'm not talking about my parents.
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about my parents.
You're going to move when you're like 60.
My parents are retired now, so they can come visit,
Yeah.
My grandparents, knock on wood, they're doing good. I saw them today. God bless them. But they're in their 80s. So I'm on mom's side. My dad's side, it's kind of a worse situation. So it's kind of like one of them's still alive, but barely. So,
Yeah. Well,
that's it, guys. Good night. Good evening.
Go.
Good night. Good evening.
So we've talked on here before. We've talked on here before about like Nintendo 64 and Sega and like all this stuff from like childhood. And I've talked about how like once a year I go back and I replay like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, like that kind of stuff. I just did it again, finished it last night. I beat Banjo-Tooie again last night. It was the first time ever, guys, playing Banjo-Tooie where I beat Grunty on the first try in Banjo-Tooie. The first try. I was like, wow, because that one's harder than the first one. But and then when it was done, I realized they announced this over a year ago, and I wondered where it was. Just this past week, they finally released the
was it
Glover remaster for Xbox. So I went right on the store, and I was like buying that shit. And I bought Glover again last night. I started playing it a little bit last night. Even on Xbox, guys, that thing is still hard. Like it's still difficult.
What are your thoughts on the remaster genre right now? Like that's clearly becoming like a super big thing.
So, unpopular opinion, maybe, and maybe this is just largely driven by nostalgia, but like the one that I think of that comes to mind the most for me is Resident Evil 4. Because I loved Resident Evil 4 for PlayStation 2 when I was a kid and like a teenager. Loved that. One of my favorite games. My brother was like, you've got to check out the remaster. They dropped a remaster. I said, okay, whatever. Checked it out, downloaded it because we game share, so I don't have to pay for it. He bought it. And I started playing it, and I was just like, this is just, I don't know. It's just not the same. And again, like I said, nostalgia probably plays a huge role in that. I get that. But I really was just kind of like, I couldn't get into it. As much as I tried, like I could not get into it. I played it for a night or so, and I was just like, this just isn't the same game, and I turned it off. I think that remasters, when it comes to, if you're going from like an old school console, Super Nintendo, N64, stuff like that, I understand a remaster there because like
They can
lot of
fix
those
all the
consoles.
pixelation, and they can,
Mhm.
yeah.
And those consoles sometimes are very hard to get, so I totally get it. But,
Right.
like, when we're redoing stuff from, like, PS2, Xbox 360, it's just kinda like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't see the point there.
So, I don't know if it was Resident Evil 4, but I know it was a game like that. It very well is this game. I saw on Instagram or something, they played a side-by-side comparison. They made the game unsexy. Like, they made the women lose their boobs. They took them out of the short shorts. They got rid of their butts, and they like stripped away all that stuff about the women in the game. I don't know if it was that, but I know it was a remaster of comparing like the PlayStation or PlayStation 2 version to the PlayStation 5 version. And I was just like, why would you do that? That's why all the guys wanted to play it. It very
Yeah.
well could have been Resident Evil 4. I can't remember what it was though, but they made the game completely unsexy. They took out why get rid of the boobs and butts?
Which
What are
is
y'all
weird.
doing?
Isn't that weird as an adult too? Because, like, as an adult, I mean, when you're, like,
It makes
12,
more
13
sense
year
to
old.
have it.
Yeah, but, like, well, I just mean when you're 12, 13 years old, like, yeah, that stuff's cool, but, like, as an adult, you're like, "Why do" I don't know, like, who cares? Like, not who cares if it's there, it's more like if you notice it as an adult, you're just kinda like, it doesn't do anything for you, I guess. It's like, it's a fucking cartoon. It's a video game, but, like, when you're a kid, you're like, "Oh my god."
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
That's every time my mom would walk in when I was playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the loading screen would always be the girl in the bikini, and I
Yeah.
just, you know,
Did you ever pick up the hookers and, like, go park into an alley?
sure.
Yeah, I would too, and then I'd beat
And
them
then
and
I
take the money.
yeah. Dude, this is the way I operate with Grand Theft Auto. For instance, the previous one was Grand Theft Auto 5, right? Which came out in like 2016, 17. When I first moved into the house, we had the Xbox One. I still have it. It's just in the closet. I don't use it anymore. Sydney played the game. She did the missions and all that, and she would get done playing after an hour or so, and she would say, "Here, have fun." Then she would give me a controller, and I just wreck shop. I had no desire to ever do any sort of mission, but I would tell her, "I want the weapons. Give me everything. Set me up." So she would
Mhm.
put in the cheat codes for me, and I'd have all weapons. And my goal was always to try to get 5 stars.
Yeah,
And because, dude, the swarm of
yeah,
cops, everything was so exhilarating.
yeah. I would go to, I don't know if it was 4 or 5, the last one that I played, but yeah, that was always I never did the missions. Never did the missions, it was literally just cheat codes, give me all the weapons, and then
Raise hell.
I would go I wanna say it was Grand Theft Auto 4. I would get on top of a crane, like, in a construction area, I'd get to the very top of the crane, and I would just shoot cars with bazookas and shit, and you'd get 5 stars, and you'd see, like, the SWAT show up and everything like that, helicopters, and I would just go as long as I could until I died, and then you'd respawn in the older games, at least. I don't know if it's still the same in the newer
Excuse
ones,
me.
but, like, San Andreas, Vice City, you would respawn outside the police station. So
Yes.
sometimes I would walk into the police station, like, and just start raising hell. Uh, I think it was Vice City. Do you remember in Vice City, if you went into the showers in the police station, there was a giant pink dildo, and you could use it as a weapon. Uh, in Vice City, I remember that. So I'd go in there when I'd respawn at the police station. I'd grab the pink dildo out of the shower, and I'd beat people to death with a dildo. Yeah.
Dude. Even I like they're supposed to put out the new one this year, which I think it was supposed to come out in like 2022.
Yeah.
And every year they just kept pushing it back. Well, they're saying this year's the year. I hope so. But my thing is, it's like, how long does it really take to make this game? Like, is this going to be the best game ever made? Like, what's the deal?
I don't think it can be simply just because of the hype and the waiting. I think that that's going to set expectations to a point where they're never going to reach that.
Oh
And so,
yeah.
no, I just, I think that Grand Theft Auto is usually pretty good, at least in my experience of, like, always being a pretty damn good game. I didn't play 5. 4 was the last one I played, but I didn't really hear people complain about 5.
Well,
So,
listen, the best Grand Theft Auto game. I've been there since the OG. I remember it was an overhead game
yeah,
where, like, you're looking at a board. The best Grand Theft Auto game of all time is Vice City. It was literally perfect.
yep.
Perfect. 3 is actually good, but Vice City was a perfected version of that. San Andreas is fun. I don't know why they had to stereotype and not let the black guy swim, but they didn't let the black guy swim in San Andreas.
Yep.
But Vice City was perfect. And dude, I remember that game was so big at the time. I had a buddy for his birthday get a box set of it was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. It was a box set of like 6 CDs, and it was the radio stations that would play the different songs, and each CD was the radio station and all the songs that would play on it. It was so fucking cool. I bet you that's a collector's item now. Because this was like 2004 at his birthday, like 12-year-old kids getting Grand Theft Auto shit. Yeah, it was a long. It might have even been earlier than that. Grand Theft Auto Vice City might have been like 2002 or 3. It was whenever the game was new. He got a box set. It was so fucking cool. I've got to go look that up to say because we used to sit in his bedroom, play Vice City, and just put the CDs on and just jam that shit. Because I remember that's where we first heard the song "And I Run."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where I heard "Flock
Yeah.
of Seagulls," and that shit was like that shit's synonymous with that game. Vice City's Vice City's the greatest.
Yeah, that was my favorite one too. And I actually had like a flashback just now when you mentioned the stereotype at San Andreas, and I remembered it, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was a real thing!" Like,
the black guy couldn't swim, man. Come on.
Yeah. And then what was it? Grand Theft Auto 4? You were like a Russian dude. I'm pretty sure you were like a Russian guy.
Yeah, I think so. I never played a lot of 4. I'll be honest with you, because during that time I was just never I didn't have time for video games anymore. I was doing oil field work and I was in school a lot, so video games was not something I was doing a whole lot of. And quite frankly, I'm a plug and play type of guy. So me and Cindy are two different type of gamers. She treats video games like movies or books, and she likes to get from chapter to chapter. I like to turn the shit on, beat somebody's ass, kill 7 people, and then be done.
Yeah.
Like our Mortal Kombat. Like that's the kind of gamer I am. So we're very different in that aspect. So all I know is when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, I'm going to tell Sydney, play it for a month, get the weapons, get all the shit, then give me the controller. And I'll entertain the shit out of her because she'll say, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to beat up her. I'm going to beat him up. I'm going to take his car. I'm going to run him over. Then I'm going to find the biggest ramp, and I'm going to go as fast as I can."
Yeah.
Like that's all I want to do.
Yeah, and you'd go over the ramp, and I remember like in Vice City, you'd go over it, and it would like go into slow-mo.
The cinema cam. You get the cinema cam.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
You know, parents revolt against those games. I actually think they're therapeutic. I think it's healthy to get out your frustrations and angers in those games. It's an outlet, in my opinion.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, it's like we could go all the way back to like the Satanic Panic, man, of like whether it was movies or games or music that were driving people to do shit, and it's like that was always stupid. But yeah, I don't know. That's just like that was like the beginning of cancel culture, I think. It was like Satanic Panic and shit like that. And I mean, it's obviously only just evolved since then. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Look, I never once, after playing Vice City, was like, well, now I need to go pick up a hooker and beat her to death in an alley. Like, it's never something that I thought about doing personally.
Little suburban kids, like, yeah, I can't wait to go down and pick up a little. It's like, come on, man.
One of the coolest things in those games, especially as a teenager, was like going into like the strip club. And like, I remember, I think it was Vice City where you could go in the strip club. I would go in the strip club a lot. Teenage boy. That was before I had a smartphone and access to the internet at any time. So, you got to make do with what you can. And found myself in the strip clubs in Grand Theft Auto a lot. But yeah, man, I don't know.
Speaking of like porn and stuff, it's so funny how crazy today is for kids coming up. Like you hit your puberty, you can go online right now and you can literally watch anything you want. Legal stuff, by the way, guys. Don't get into any creepy stuff. But when we were coming up, I remember around 2003, we actually finally got decent internet. We had dial up for like 2099 through like 02. We had dial up, which I used to always, if I want to get my dad mad, I would pick up the phone when he was on the internet and it would break the connection and he would just lose his shit. And I also remember when it was a precursor to LimeWire. My dad would say, "But Christian, what song do you want?" And this was 2001 at the time. And wrestling was super popular. And there was a wrestler named Edge. Edge used to come out to Rob Zombie's Never Gonna Stop, Red Red Groovy. And that's how I heard that song. And I told my dad I want the Edge's song. And I think that might have been how I found out about Rob Zombie, quite frankly. But I remember he would get on the computer, dial up, and he would download the song, and we'd wake up the next day and it would be done. Like, it took that long overnight. But I don't know where I'm getting off with that because that's really not the point. But my point is, I remember when I was coming up around 2003 and stuff, I hit puberty. I'm interested in girls big time. And I'm like, what is this magical world of porn? Back then, there was a website just called like 89.com that my buddy at school told me about, where it was just pictures like of like porn actresses, like with like out tops on. And that to me was like the most amazing thing. And it's just like, it's crazy now how everything is like, it's just movies, any clip you want. It's like, I guess porn's come a long way. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm even getting at, man.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a hideout spot behind our subdivision in the woods where a guy just kept a stash of like
I was gonna ask
Playboys
you.
and shit.
Yeah.
Like the magazine hut.
I was gonna ask you if you ever went through that phase too, because I remember me and my buddies found their dad's Hustlers. Oh my God, that shit changed my life because I had seen Playboys. And if you guys remember those times, 20 years or so ago, Playboys were always more tasteful. Hustler was Hustler was different. Hustler was like butthole and like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was everything where Playboy was, you could make the case that Playboy was like somewhat classy still. Hustler was not. Yeah, dude, I went through that. Oh my God, those things. We found a Hustler DVD. We found one of his DVDs and watched it, and we were like, holy shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Hustler's the good stuff. But it's so funny you mentioned that because this is so bizarre to me, but I actually think this was probably way more common than I probably realize. My grandparents, who are the most normal people you'd ever see in the world, like they're just totally straight and narrow. I remember like probably like 6, 7 months before Katrina, I was just like walking around my grandma's house while she was like, we were just staying over there. My mom was at work, and I found they had, dude, probably 12 or 15 years worth of Playboy. Like the magazine. I mean, they had a subscription, like 12 or 15 years. And I remember flipping through them, and I remember seeing one for China. She was a WWF wrestler. She was huge at the time. And I remember looking at that. I'm just thinking to myself, what are they doing with these? Like it blew my mind that they had them. But I think that probably so many couples probably were getting Playboys back in the day, but nobody really talked about it. Like I never in a million years would have thought my grandparents would have had a subscription to Playboy, but they did. And I remember looking, like it was from like, they're probably collector's items now, but like I remember looking, it was from like 87 to about like 2001. They had it, just the entire catalog. I found this massive like shelf behind. I moved the rack of clothes out the way, and then there was like a shelf behind that. It was like hidden. I just couldn't believe it. I just could not fucking believe it.
I guess. So my question for you there is, and I'm genuinely curious here, why do you think that was? Like, maybe not even like specifically in your grandparents' case, but like, what do you think it was about? Why would people? Why? Because I know that was a thing. Like, I'm sure it was not just your grandparents. Like, they're married couples and shit would like have these things. Do you think it was like? I don't know. There's no way they looked at them together, right? There's no way the couples are getting together. And go, oh, look at those titties. Like,
you know what, dude? I really don't know.
Because like, can you imagine you and Sydney doing that? You know what I mean? Like you and Sydney pulling up a chair and going, all right, let's pull up let's go to pornhub.com. Like,
dude, it's funny you say that. The answer is no. You know, obviously it's my wife, so I'm open with her about talking about whatever I'm into or what I want to do, that sort of stuff, like any couple would be. But no, we don't watch porn together. I find that a little intense, or just not intense, awkward. But dude, I think a lot of couples probably do that.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be like, I don't do that.
I mean,
I
my
just
mom told me that my dad would, and like he would put on VHSs like back in the 90s. And she the way she put it was he'd make me watch them with him. But like, I don't know, because like I feel like it was actually crazy enough less taboo back then. And I think part of the reason is because nowadays, dude, pornography has gotten like really like you said just a couple minutes ago, you can find anything at your
oh, dude,
fingertips.
I got no problem saying it. Porn has gotten so like some of it's just so bad. I won't even lie. And the reason I know is not because I'm a deviant that looks up some of that stuff, but because there's documentaries I've watched. There was this documentary that was huge on Netflix at the time. It was called damn it. It was called like Hot Girls Wanted or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were talking in that documentary that like the number one search of all time is basically like 18-year-olds. So there's this huge world of, and I'm gonna be careful because I don't want this video to get monetized or
Yep.
stuff, but there's this huge world of guys and probably women too that they're searching these kinds of ages, which really kind of lets you see what they're, because to me that's kind of a little indicative.
Yeah.
And dude, I got no problem saying that anything that revolves anything like that, that's so wrong. I I don't care what the law is. Like this comes with like real life too. Like if you're like 35 and you have an 18-year-old girlfriend, I'm sorry, I'm gonna call you a creep. I'm gonna call you a creep.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're 25 and she's 18, okay, but even so, like those years,
I don't
there's
know,
like
Christian.
so much you got to go through with life. I don't like. Let's say me and Sydney divorced tomorrow and I'm starting over. I'm 32. I'm gonna be 33 in less than a month. I think I wouldn't look for any woman that's probably under 24. Like
Yeah.
anything early that, because I'd feel like we're so far apart in how our lives are and what you got to go through and things you've done. Now, if she's that's just me. It's like the thing is the law is the law. So it's like what I'm saying is just my opinion about the thing. But like I find it creepy. Like, and I've told you this. Like, I'm not gonna say Jenna Ortega is hot. She's like a kid to me. Millie Bobby Brown is a fucking kid. She's a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
She's what is she now? She's 20, 19? I
I
still
was
like,
tr-
is she
yes.
attractive? Is she pretty? Sure. But like
No,
I'm not gonna go online and say, oh my God, she's so fucking like no,
dude,
like
yeah, you're right. I was talking to Rudy about that the other day. He sent me like a Millie Bobby Brown, like it was a reel or a meme or something, and I I responded to it and I was like, she's just like always gonna be 11 to me, the character 11. Like I can't see her as like an adult woman. I know she is, but like it's just different, man. I was watching her on Stranger Things when she was a preteen while I
same.
was in my early 20s. Like that's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just creepy. It's creepy to me. But at the same, listen, I'm sorry if you don't agree. If anybody listens that doesn't agree with, like, you have your opinion, I have mine. Like, and you're more than welcome if you're a 35-year-old guy to go get yourself an 18-year-old girlfriend. That's the law. You can do that, and there's nothing legally wrong with that. I just find it weird, man. It's like I want a partner in life that I can go through with and be on the same level with mentally and all that stuff. And you got to keep up with me. I ain't got time to relive my early 20s and do all that stupid shit. I've done it. I don't want to go party. I don't want to go do this. I don't want to do all this stupid shit. Um, I don't know why I got off on this, but dude,
No,
my thing is it's a problem. There are so many sickos out there that roam this, and we know because me and you both watch this. I don't remember who it was. I'm not going to call them out, but somebody had commented on a previous episode, something like, I think Christian might be exaggerating a little bit about the epidemic we have of PDF files.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I totally disagree with that. I think it's the biggest sickness today. I think it's the biggest sickness going today that we deal with. The fact that there is a genre on YouTube of these guys getting caught and women. It's not just guys. There
Daily.
are
You can find a new one daily.
daily. It's the biggest sickness we have going today, and I think it's the biggest. I think it's one of the most important things that we need to stop, fix, and solve. Whether it's through mental rehabilitation, some of these people need to have, just going to jail, whatever. We have got to get this shit situated because these people are ruining these kids' lives. Because guess what? We can watch these people get caught on YouTube all day long, but the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of them are not decoys, and it's actual children getting with all these sickos, and you could ruin a kid's life. I'm going to stop. I don't want to say too much. My point is, to me, that is the biggest issue we have today. I can't stand it. It's disgusting to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing lower than that. And the people that go to jail for that stuff, Nick, they get destroyed. Remember that guy that was there was a guy that went to jail. He was a physical therapist for gymnasts. Famous guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember his name, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
They had to pull his ass out of population and put him in a secure, because listen, you know, not all crimes are equal. Like if you're hustling, doing your thing, if you're just trying to rob a bank, but you know you're not going to kill anybody, but you can rob a bank, but you get caught. It's like in jail, that's a respectable crime. If you're a carjacker, like if you're doing stuff that's not involving kids in jail, it's like you're okay. If you go to jail for that kind of stuff, you are done for. They're gonna eat you up in prison. So they said that he got jumped, and so they had to pull his ass out and give him his own room.
Yeah, they're gonna turn
not even criminals like those people. Is my point.
They're gonna turn your booty hole into a fucking used tube sock. I mean, it's a very, very real thing. I mean, I don't openly like talk about certain things in like pertaining to aspects of my life, but like Christian knows. Let's just say I'm sure my sperm donor hasn't had it very easy for the last almost 30 years because he's been incarcerated for similar crimes. And yeah, I hope it's been just absolute hell. I mean, I really do. Because here's the thing too, man. You mentioned that point that you made where you're like, you know, whether anyone believes that it's like one of the biggest problems that we're facing today, you can debate that, whatever, it's fine. I agree with you. I think the thing is, a lot of people think, oh, well, they're kind of separating like, well, intent. I was talking to, it was a sting, like, you know, that kind of thing where it's like, they don't weight it the same. Like people that are actually committing the physical act, like that's what we really should be concerned about. No. If you are under the impression that you are talking to someone that is not of age and you're sharing,
you should immediately say, have a good day. Done.
Yeah. And report it too. Don't let them be on that site because you need to look out for them if they're not looking out for themselves. But regardless, it's like, I think that with the amount of people that actually probably go through with it and physically harm someone, yeah, it's not as much as those that attempt it. But the number that attempt it, that are open to it, yeah, it's disgusting, man. And we can lie all day and say it's not a problem. But like, yeah, dude, I saw the same thing you did. That was talking about how like the most searched term. I actually think it was like it was 18, but like
young,
like 18, young teen, like virgin, stuff like that. Yeah,
like all that.
It's just like, what the fuck goes on in your head, man? Like what? I don't know. It's fucking gross.
I just, dude, I listen. That's this is like one of the most. This is one thing in my life to where, and nobody should. I get passionate when I talk about this stuff because it's so disgusting to me. It needs to stop. We've got to change the culture on this.
It needs to die.
It should be. It does. It needs to die. Like it just sickens me, dude. We gotta protect the kids out there, and we gotta keep people like this in fucking. I mean, we need to swing the hammer of justice on these motherfuckers.
Yeah,
no, at least 10 years in prison. At least 10 years in prison. First offense, 10 years. Second offense, done. You're done.
And I can tell you too that my sperm donor's sentence, y'all, was 15 to 75, and he's been there almost 30. So,
and no disrespect, I know that's your, you know,
no, he's not. No, he's not. I don't know the guy. So
my point is, to hell with him.
Yeah,
you got to go.
Yeah, you know? No. And he can't get out because part of his part of his parole, the thing that's holding him up from getting out, believe it or not, swear to God, is he has to like admit to what he did because he still never admitted it. He won't admit it. So that's why they're ready to let him out, which is a scary thought in and of itself. But like, he won't admit it. So I mean, that's like the lowest of the low. Like, you not only did you do these things, but you can't admit it. You can't, like, after 30 years, you can't just be like, all right, yeah, so I'm a fucking freak. Like,
Good riddance.
yeah, it's like let those people rot, man, for sure.
How did we get on this subject now? I don't even remember.
That's the beauty of this podcast, Christian, is that we just do things.
Nobody else will talk about this shit on a show. I'll talk about it because this is real shit.
Yeah.
We can talk about movies all day long, which of course we will, but this is real shit, dude.
And look, man, if either one of us is going to get quote unquote canceled for some of these positions, I'd love to be canceled for that. Like, I would love to be somebody that, like, is it a bad thing that these are my stances? Because I feel like if they're not your stances, if you don't share these values, I don't think I really want to be your friend personally. Like,
you gotta get out of here. You gotta go.
Yeah. One last thing on this topic, and then we'll move forward. I just want to say this. I've always put it this way. Imagine you're 36 and you're dating an 18-year-old, or whatever it is. I've always said, imagine that 18-year gap. You're 18 years old holding this newborn baby and going, I'm going to date you one day. When you put it in that context,
it's scary.
That's creepy. Fucking disgusting, bro. And that's what it is. If you're 36 and they're 18, like, gross, dude. Like, just so gross to even think about that. Like, or you're 45 and they're, I don't know, 20. Like, you were 25 when they were born, bro.
So basically, you're describing Leonardo DiCaprio right now.
He's
all into that, dude. It's like a meme, right? Like the second they hit 21, like, he breaks up with them and gets another one. Dude, I'm pretty sure Anthony Kiedis, the Red Hot Chili Peppers singer, is in a situation like that. And the guy that me and you like from that band, the heavy band that's covered in tattoos, Ronnie
Radke.
He posted something talking about this, and he was saying Anthony Kiedis in his book talked about having a relationship with in the book.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're a sick son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And I think Kiedis I think he could be the granddad to the girl he's with now. Just creepy shit, dude. Just creepy shit. God, this is why Keanu Reeves is like the perfect celebrity, because he's normal. He's got a woman around his age. He lives a quiet life. He keeps his mouth shut. He makes good movies. And more importantly, he's nice to people. Like, Keanu Reeves is the one celebrity everybody on planet Earth can agree is amazing. I've never heard anybody say they don't like Keanu Reeves. I think we should all aspire to be like Keanu. I do.
Yeah.
Perfect
Keanu, Nick Cage, guys like that. Like, it's just, they're just guys, man. One guy that's like that, that I'm actually really growing fond of in recent years, and he's almost become like a meme. Pedro Pascal. He just seems like another guy that's like that. Very much just like a dude, just like a normal dude.
He was good in Gladiator too. I just watched that about 2-3 weeks ago. I enjoyed it because I wanted to see Denzel. I'm a big Denzel guy. It's so funny. There's this.
So it's not a waste of time. Like, it's not a sequel that you're like, why'd you make this?
You could say, why'd you make this? But no, I don't think it's a waste of time, because my thing about the first Gladiator was I wanted to see them get into that Coliseum. I wanted to see some battles. And then the first Gladiator, you got to go through the Game of Thrones type of drama kind of stuff with the Joaquin Phoenix being the rightful heir, but the daddy didn't want to give it to him. He wanted to give it to what's the actor?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe was going to be the heir, but the son killed the daddy. That way, he would become the rightful heir before publicly it was known that the king wanted Russell Crowe to be in charge of everybody, right? So then it becomes a whole thing where he fights his way through the Coliseum to get back on top. Anyway, the sequel really just jumps right into all the Coliseum fightings. But there's scenes with monkeys, and for some reason, Ridley Scott decided he wanted to have a hairless monkey in here, which just looks ridiculous in a battle scene. But no, it's very entertaining. It's very entertaining. And like I said, I wanted to see Denzel in it because he's always money. So I love Denzel in it. But Pedro Pascal was great in it too. And I really like him. I actually really can't wait for Last of Us season 2, which I think is coming out this year. Should be a big year for television. I've really opened my eyes on television. I'm getting, even though I'm getting older, I'm actually feeling I'm getting a little less ornery, and I'm actually really excited for Last of Us season 2 because that was must see television. Never played the game, but I thought that was must see television.
Doesn't it come out next month?
It very well could. I know that Sydney said, "Hey, Christian, it's coming out this year," and did you watch season 1?
No, I never played the games either.
Let me tell you something. There is an episode of TV on that show, probably the greatest hour of television I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not even kidding. And it was all about a gay couple.
Oh, I saw all the drama online afterward. Yeah, I remember hearing all about that.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. One of the best written stories, because each episode is kind of its own chapter, but the end connects to the next piece. But it's very satisfying, right? Because each episode is like an hour, and it gives you a conclusion more or less with each one. And it was all about these two guys coming together, and they formed this they're living with each other. And one of them was Ron from the guy that was like the fixer-upper guy in Parks and Rec.
Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
That episode of television brought me to tears. Ask Sydney. We were watching it. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I've never seen I've never been this compelled by television before in my life. I was emotionally drained. It was the best. You have to watch it. You have to watch it." And the opening of the show, I've never played the games. The opening of the show, when they talk about what's going to happen and how it's a fungus, not a virus, it's a fungus. Oh, dude, it'll raise the hair in the back of your head. And the crazy thing is, they kind of say that this shit's kind of could be real, like this kind of fungus stuff. So, dude, it's probably the best horror because it's horror. It's kind of like a zombie show. It's like the best television show I've ever seen in my life, ever.
Yeah, I've been told by a lot of people. I know it's crazy because if you're someone that likes television, yeah, this is a huge year for television. You've got that Last of Us season 2, final season of Stranger Things, final season of You. A lot of big stuff,
dude. I did not watch the season. I know you watch it. I didn't. I thought I don't know what it was, dude. Like we started the first episode. Me and Sid, we watched it of the previous season.
Yeah.
You watched it. I watched it with Sydney. I probably should have stuck with it, but we looked at each other and we said, I think the best is behind us on this show. And we stopped. We did. We didn't finish the last season.
I'll tell you this. I think when
they killed the wife, to me, that was
the best season of You is season 3. With Love, the wife and how all that shit.
Amazing television. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best season of that show. But I will say season 4, I was actually very similar to you, and they dropped it in 2 parts. And I remember not loving part 1 because they changed the formula. It's very different. And I was like, this is not the same show. And then part 2 of season 4 kind of brings it all back. There's a fake out in there.
Okay. I was gonna say, did the season 2 was it all filmed at the same time, or was it? The second part was it reactionary to maybe the?
No, it filmed at the same time. What I think they dropped it like a month and a half apart or something like that because Netflix has been doing that recently with certain shows. But like, I remember not loving part 1, and because they changed a lot of the formula. It just seemed different, and they were doing that on purpose. I think they wanted to try different things, and they wanted to fake the audience out. And then part 2, you're like, oh shit. And so I actually think the season ends really strong. I ended up walking away from that season being actually a really big fan of it. And I was like, no, it does not touch the heights of season 3. No, I don't know if anything ever will, but
It was good television, really good
yeah.
television. Plus, we
And
got our
it's-
boy from Friday the 13th in there. 09. Well, my boy. I don't know if you
yeah.
love it. I can't tell if you like that
Hey,
movie or not. Sometimes, some days you're okay on it. Other days you're
no,
not okay on it.
I'm not a fan, but I wouldn't say that it's a movie that I feel like so passionately about that I need to like rake over the coals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like I find it.
You'll wise up one day.
Nah, he keeps saying that. And 2 years ago, he had me watch it again, and I was like live texting him my thoughts as I'm watching it, and I still felt the same way. Like, I was like, the opening is the fucking apex of that movie. The first 15 minutes is the apex. When you peak that early, the rest of the movie pales in comparison. Like, I'm just like following along, and I'm like, but why can't this be like the opening though? That like this is just how I feel. But I want to ask you a question because I know I have bias. Whatever, it's fine. But Jaden and I did a like slasher bracket tournament thing, and he made it. I didn't. He picked everybody that was involved in it. And spoiler
Like
alert to anybody.
characters, was it? I never watched that one. Was it characters or movies?
It's characters,
Okay,
and
'cause I was-
specific iterations of characters.
Okay,
too.
real quick, because I was gonna say you're on my Patreon. You might have seen this was literally months ago. I did a huge tier because I was trying to use OBS and I needed an excuse to get used to it. So I did one where I picked like 50 slasher movies and I did a tier list. I still haven't posted it. And the funny thing is, I was like, all right, guys, so I'm getting ready to try to work with OBS. So I'm doing this as an excuse. Now I'm not even using OBS. So when people see that, they're gonna say, huh? But I just wanted to say that. But anyway, go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Basically, he had different specific iterations of the characters. So like, if it was Myers, he specifically said Tyler Maine's Michael Myers.
Okay.
The Jason that he picked was parts 2 through 4 Jason before he was a zombie.
Okay.
And like, so he had very specific iterations.
Sure.
I felt like we were fair. We had the final matchup. We both agreed out of 32. I think it came down to Hannibal Lecter versus Maine's Myers. And now, granted,
what do you mean? What do you mean Hannibal Lecter as like the greatest iteration of a slasher character?
No, not necessarily. Just like you put them in matchups. This person versus this person, who would win and why? And then if they would win in that matchup, they would advance.
Oh, like in an actual fight?
Yes. And you might be going, how the fuck did Hannibal Lecter make it that far? Well, because Hannibal Lecter's never been about brute strength, and lucky for Hannibal Lecter, a lot of his matchups actually played into his favor. I'm pretty sure one of the matchups, it was him versus Norman Bates. I'd be like, oh, dude, he would easy, because he just get in Bates' head. Like, because Hannibal Lecter's strength is his brain. The dude, like, he can fuck with anyone. But I had the winner of all of it being Maine's Myers. And in fairness, too, again, let me tell you, the Freddy Krueger that he used was real world Freddy, not Dream World. So human Freddy Krueger, because he basically said if it was Dream World Freddy, he's OP. He'd beat everybody. It's just not even fair. So he used human Freddy. Jason, it was Jason from 2 through 4, where he can still technically die. He's not undead yet. Do you think, I guess this is really the matchup I'm curious, do you think Maine's Myers could take part 2's Jason?
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, so yeah, given that criteria, I think Maine's Myers was the right answer to come out on top. Now, like I said, if you had Dream World Freddy, no one's beating him. If you had even like Friday 09's Jason, you got a much better.
See, Friday 09 is where I would say Tyler's going down. I don't think anybody could stop that Jason. It's a fucking, that's a man.
But it wasn't that Jason.
That's a 6'7", 265-pound machine. Just a machine. Also, where was Leatherface in the mix of this?
Believe it or not, Leatherface, it was the semifinals right before. Yeah, he was the semifinals. Because we did it like March. We did it like March Madness. But It was Maines Myers versus Brian Yarsky's Leatherface, and we both thought that Maines Myers would win that one.
I would have voted for Myers too, but I wouldn't have probably been as fair. I just don't like Briniarski, so I would have wanted to see him go out anyway.
I called you out. I said, "Fuck Christian, we're doing Briniarski's Leatherface." But and the reason being was, I think my explanation was like, here's the thing: Maines Myers isn't really affected by like pain. You can't really get in his head unless you're his mom. Whereas like Leatherface from 09 in the beginning, he still has his Leatherfacey moments where, you know, he throws a hissy fit. Like I think Maines Myers would take him.
Yeah, he probably would have been high up for me too. Specifically part 2.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned part 2 a lot. I was like, yeah, Halloween 2's Myers, man. That's a freight train. But interesting question. I didn't answer this question because I don't really know if I have the answer, but I'm just curious.
Okay.
For you, who do you think wins? Maines Myers from H2 or James Jude Courtney from Kills, specifically Halloween Kills?
I'm sorry, like James Hugh Courtney is great, but he's a punk ass bitch. Look at him in Ends. He couldn't even lift his fucking ass up until like he was clearly was. Well, it's funny because in Kills he's a monster, but in Ends like I remember the problem is this. You're gonna get me off on a tangent here. Let me answer the question
Go
first,
for
then
it.
I'm gonna rant. The answer is Tyler Maine, clearly. And to be fair, the movie was fresh, so I know you love it, so I can understand your need to defend it a little harder. And you weren't defending it from your aspect. You were actually saying that the people involved were saying this, that in Ends, it wasn't supernatural, but it was an orgasmic feeling he had when he killed, and that's how he was able to. That made even less sense to me. So, dude, I don't even know where I'm going with this. My point is, Halloween Ends doesn't make any fucking sense, but I still like it. And one of these days, you're gonna admit it, because I'll be honest with you. For you to actually say that Halloween 2, the original, is overrated, I'll be honest, that's kind of stupid.
No, it's
like
not.
That's ridiculous. And I remember one time we were talking about, we're on the show, and you're like, I was watching Halloween 2 one time, and I'll be honest, like I fell asleep. Yeah, motherfucker, because you've seen it 1,000 times. Of course you're gonna fall asleep one time. What are you talking about? Halloween 2? You fucking crazy?
You're gonna tell me that the mid portion of that.
All right, the chat is going to rally around this. Halloween Ends isn't a patch on Halloween 2's ass. It never will be.
Oh,
it never will be.
Come off it, you fucking crackhead. No way. Halloween. Okay. I take your point, and I'll raise you this. At least Halloween Ends tried to have some fucking like pathos to the character. It tried to deepen things more. There was actually like character development in that movie, whereas Halloween 2 is totally plotless. The entire point of Halloween 2 is
entertain the audience. That's the entire point.
How many people can he kill on his way to Laurie Strode? You don't give a shit about like any of the characters. And I get it. It's a slasher movie. You don't have to. But for me personally, I like characters that I can latch onto. I've always been that way.
That's not my problem. My problem is what you tell me the people that were making this film were saying. They made the movie make less sense.
But I didn't write it.
I know, but I'm saying is it's so hard to take them seriously when you tell me that they say, no, that wasn't supernatural. That was him getting off.
Dude,
and then he decided, I'm thinking to myself, that's a joke, right? I mean, you're like, no, that's what they said. That's what they said, Christian. You admit that's stupid.
I don't admit that's stupid. I reject that premise. I reject that premise because that is like historically.
He's still gotta eat. Like, where's the strength coming from?
Well, what I'm saying is like historically, scientifically, biologically, with serial killers, that is their MO. They get off on that shit. So I in that sense, I reject it a little bit because I'm like, I can see that. Now, I understand why you have an issue with it, and you're totally justified because up to that point in the Halloween series, 13 movies in, there was literally no inclination of that ever. So we're getting to what's supposed to be the last one, and it's like, oh yeah, we told you he was supernatural or alluded to it this entire time, but actually he's just like an old creepy, like gets off on killing people. Like I get it, but I also feel like that's oversimplifying it. Like
Of course, because how does he then go and pick a girl up in the shower and lift her off of her feet when he literally couldn't even hold his hand around a guy's neck 30 minutes ago? He was so done.
Fair.
So that's why the people that made these films need to shut the fuck up.
Well, they do. They oversimplify it themselves, or they over-explain shit, and then they have egg on their face, even though eggs are like $12 a carton.
Listen, I like the movie. I'm not your enemy. I like the movie.
I know.
I will. The more that time goes away, I still think they completely botched half of this storytelling wise, but at the same time, I don't care about that. I'm not going to watch these movies back to back to back ever again. I can watch them by themselves, but they don't shut up and they say stupid shit. And here's the other thing. There's these rumors circulating around now that Jamie Lee Curtis is, if that's the case, dude, I'm taking my tattoo off. I'm getting it taken off. Like,
no, Christian, Christian, not, this was a topic
we're going to talk about. It's bullshit, right? And it's bullshit. It's made up. There's no factual base to any of this, right? It's just the interneting, right? That's all it is.
You want the truth, or do you?
If you have it, please
give me
to
placate you. Well, nobody has the truth except Jason Blum, obviously. But I can tell you this: I was of the mind you were for the longest time, where I was like, recently, and I wanted to talk about this, so I would have totally forgot. There were rumors going around that they were having conversations, and I thought, oh, slow news day, huh? Like, we're going to start this bullshit rumor. This is obviously not going to happen.
Right.
And then there was more traction to it. And then I reached out to some people that were like, yeah, I'm hearing this too. Like nothing even concrete or anything, but like they're talking. And I was like, okay. I started to rack my brain. How the fuck do you even do that? After Halloween ends, how do you do that? And as Jamie Lee Curtis, after the fucking tour you went on in 2022, how do you come back a couple years later and go, I'm back? Like, so I thought about it. And then yesterday, Jason Blum tweeted a photo of David Gordon Green and Jamie Lee Curtis sitting on a couch talking. And I was like, he just tweeted that. And I was like, I'm going to shoot myself in the face. Yeah, it's real. Go right now to Jason Blum.
Yeah, I got to see this.
And it's a current photo because David Gordon Green has his long hair.
Yeah, but is that what Jamie Lee Curtis's hair looks like? Okay, yeah, that is her hair.
Yep.
God almighty. Here's the thing. Why? People, listen, here's the thing. I actually love Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, she is made some of my favorite films. I love her in My Girl. I love her in the comedy with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. What was that called?
I don't know. But I like her in Christmas with the Cranks.
I love Jamie. I think she's great. Mother's Boys is probably one of the most underrated films of the 90s in terms of thrillers. I mean, I love that movie.
Yep.
I don't want her in any more Halloween films.
Nope.
I also don't want Danielle Harris in any more Halloween films. Guys, get over it. No. But what does this mean? What are they going to do? Obviously, Gordon Green's got some free time on his hands since his ass got fired off of Exorcist. Now that some time has gone by, you do agree it's best that he got his ass out of there.
Oh,
he needs to go.
You and I agreed with The Exorcist Believer. We weren't big fans, but we weren't haters. I thought the movie was largely fine. Yeah.
But it's not good enough.
No, and it's not good enough if you're going to say we're going to get a whole trilogy of fine. I'm all right with that. A one-off, whatever. It was a fine movie. It was the right decision. Blumhouse made the right decision, 100%. But to your larger question of like, especially because Mike Flanagan's coming in. Come on, the fucking GOAT. But like,
it's so funny. He's the cleanup guy. They fuck up Ouija. Let's get Flanagan. They fuck up Exorcist. Just hire him from the start.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I know. But as far as like, what are they going to do? Oh, well, that's a good question, man. I don't fucking know. I wish I could answer like, oh, yeah, so I could see a scenario where Jamie comes back in this capacity. Dude, he literally eviscerated this motherfucker. Like, there is nothing left of Michael Myers. So unless you are going to go full, okay, Just kidding. He actually is supernatural. Unless you're going to do that, I literally don't know how you bring Jamie Lee back into Halloween as Laurie Strode in that timeline. Now, Christian, let's get super stupid. And what if they start a different alternate timeline?
I wouldn't put it past them.
I mean,
I swear to God, I really wouldn't put it past them. Wait, so Miramax owns the. I'm never gonna pretend to fully understand this shit. So Miramax has the rights to make the new movie, and
yes.
does Blumhouse, would they still have to fight to get the option to make the movie with them, or what? Because
Well,
they finished their obligation, right? Like they made the
yeah.
movies, and they
They
would
would just
have
have to re-up. They would just have to re-up. And obviously, since they made those movies together, I don't see any scenario where Miramax would not work with them again. I'm sure Miramax would be like, yeah,
because
cool, let's partner up again.
they were their names were still in the previous movies, right?
Mhm.
I
Yep.
thought so.
It was a joint partnership between Blumhouse, Universal, and Miramax. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So what happened to the TV show idea?
Well,
Or is
it
that
got
just other people?
announced. God, that was like a year and a half ago, right? When that first got reported. I think personally, I don't know, but either they couldn't crack a good enough idea or they saw the fan reaction and a lot of fans were at best muted on it, like, oh really, like we're gonna do this. Maybe they chickened out of it. I can't really say what it was, but I can tell you that I definitely think that they're thinking more dollars here, and they're looking at that trilogy that made $500 million, and I think that they're like, well, I don't know, we want to make money here. Like,
Let me tell you this, dude. Let me tell you this. No bullshit. All bullshit aside, I want a new Halloween movie. I enjoy the journey always so much. We used to talk about this all. What I used to say, Nick, enjoy the ride, because before you know it, these movies are going to be done, and then we're just going to be sitting around looking back and saying, not us per se, but I would say this to the audience. We'll look back and say, man, why did I waste my time bitching so much? Honestly, I lived in a time where Halloween movies were coming out again, and that was so fun as a fan. I want that journey to happening. I love the process. I love the process because the air is different outside. Conversations with your friends are different. There's a palpable feeling to it. It's fun. I want that to happen again. I'm ready for it again, quite frankly. But not with Jamie Lee Curtis. But if she does come back, I wouldn't put it past her to want to do another one, because she does make good money from it. She can get great publicity with. Actually, I don't even think she needs it. She stays really busy.
She did Freakier Friday. That's going to come out later this year. That's probably going to make a shitload of money. Like,
yeah, probably so. I don't.
What if that's a movie that didn't need a sequel, personally, but whatever.
No, it's a classic. But what, my thing is, what if they did a TV show, but she acted in the sort of like a Crypt Keeper sense, where she was like a narrator for it, or she did, and it was like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to see how a Halloween TV show could work.
Oh,
really?
That's actually a good idea if you bring her back like in voice, but not like physically.
Right.
But I did have this one thought, and I talked to Justin about this because we talked about this on Wednesday. The one thing that I could think of, and I still would reject this premise, guys. Just going to tell you that right now. This is not something I would do. But the one thing I could think that they do is, what if we bring her back as like, now she's the new Loomis? You know what I mean? Like, she's the one that's fought all these battles, and now she's the wise old sage that comes to save the day. What if she's the new Loomis? Again, before any of you say shit in the comments, I would hate that idea. But could I see them doing it? Yeah, because what else are you going to do with this character in this time? What else do you do? Are we going to go to Japan with her and Hawkins, and we're going to see them see the fucking cherry blossoms? It's just going to be that? And it's actually going to come like a dramedy? Because, like, I don't know what the fuck you do with Laurie, bro. And you and I both agreed, even though we liked Halloween Ends, we both said after that movie, that's it. Like, bye, Jamie. Thank you for everything. But go away now. And here we are.
Do you think we're going to find out anything about whatever it could be this year?
Yeah, we'd have to. I mean, personally, I think we would have to. We'd have to know something, and whether that's the studios confirming it themselves or whether that's insiders letting people know, hey, this is the deal on this situation. I would feel like we're gonna know something. And I want to know sooner rather than later because I want to bitch about it. Because guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, even as a mark for the series. And I love Jamie, man. I don't want it anymore. I don't like. I was so happy. You and I were both happy thinking about the possibilities with Halloween in the future. Now that we could move past like the original timeline, it has been laid to rest. Like we thought about it. We were pontificating. They could do this. They could do that. It was just so cool to think about the possibilities. I want to go back to that mindset, not this shit where I'm like, oh fuck, what are they gonna do?
Then you have to wonder what John Carpenter's involvement would be again.
He'd probably drink a
Music at
six
best.
pack. He'd probably drink a six pack. Hopefully, give him some story ideas. Jamie is his sister.
Yeah. See, I get in Halloween moods randomly in the early beginning. Like right now, if I would love the announcement of something, but
I thought
it would
about
have to be
H2 the other night, and I was like, I can't, dude. It's fucking March. But I thought about it.
They made the ending of Ends bulletproof. So there's no way you could continue it unless you did something insanely drastic. I mean, outlandishly drastic. You'd have to change it. I don't think they're going to do that. I think it'd have to be retro. It'd have to be something that went back in time, something vintage. Like I could see them redoing the first movie again. I'll be honest with you.
But like with JLC as a part of it, like
I
that's
don't
what I'm
know.
saying. Even if they do that, and I don't necessarily disagree that I could see them doing like a straight up remake. My question though becomes, like, how is JLC a part of this? How does one square that aside from dollar signs? Obviously, that's the real answer here, but like narratively,
getting her to do it's not a problem if you pay her, but
yeah,
how to make it make sense is
exactly. It's narratively. Like I'm asking as a fan, how are you going to sell me on that shit? Because you have to sell me somewhat. Like I can suspend some disbelief. Okay, I love Halloween 3. I love Halloween 6. I can suspend.
That's another thing. That's another thing. Don't fucking touch Halloween 3. Don't fucking touch it.
They're not going to. That was an idea that was thrown around at the very beginning when Miramax re-upped with the rights when they were talking about television, and it quickly got shot down. And the rumor is it got shot down by Malik. And the rumor is it got shot down by Malik because Malik is still scarred from his father being scarred about the reception of Halloween 3. So like they're like, absolutely not. As long as an Akkad is still alive, you're not going to see a continuation of 3.
But I thought his daddy liked Halloween 3.
He did, but he didn't like the fact that it didn't make him money and everybody hated it. It was like well, he took a public bruising. That was a humiliation for him. I can totally understand why after that movie came out, he was like, "Yep, never again. Never again. We're not doing that shit again." Yeah.
Oh, God. I hope we get some news about that. I'm ready. You know, I just wanted to I want something fresh to where, you know, we need to have a movie, dude. They need to actually make a Halloween movie again where it is truly just pure suspense. Just like the original. No, barely any gore. Just don't even have any. Just man, really make it uber suspenseful, and that's it. Just fucking. I don't know. I don't know what they would do. I still like the idea of Halloween Returns. I thought that was interesting.
It was.
So
I guess my question to you is, do you think that, and of course, I think both of us optimistically would say, yeah, of course that would work in today's day and age because we both like movies like that. But do you think you could mass sell that movie to audiences in today's day and age? Like, honestly, like, because look at a movie that's like that in this day and age. It Follows, which It Follows got a big following. Like a lot of people, it's a cult classic. Like a lot of people like it, but like there's still a pretty loud contingent of people that are like, that movie's stupid. That movie's boring. I don't understand what it is about this movie that people like.
So yes and no. Yes, I think they could, and no, they couldn't keep it going. I think you could get away with making a just purely suspenseful, scary movie like the original Halloween, but without all the gore and stuff, I don't think the interest would be high for sequels from younger audiences. So I think you could get them back, you can get them to go, but just like a lot of sequels, I don't think the follow-ups would be mega successful. And that's the problem with these movies is, you know, they
They're
got to
trying to
follow up.
sequelize. Yeah, they're that's what it's all about, franchising right
I'm gonna
now.
be honest.
They
I'm
did-
gonna be honest with you. I kind of wish Paramount had gotten the rights to Halloween
really.
instead of Miramax, because Paramount would have got the ball rolling big time. Paramount's my favorite studio. They always will be. They give all if something's successful, they do another one. Any other studio that would have done Smile, you know, it would have been one and done.
I finally watched Smile too, and that was leagues better than the first
It
one.
was. It really
Yeah.
was.
First one I thought was average at best, and that's why I didn't see the second one in theaters because I was like, do I need a follow up to that? Second one was a lot better.
It's actually brilliant. Market the first one genius, make everybody aware of it with stunts. And when everybody goes and sees it, then actually put the good movie out next. It's actually brilliant. It's kind of like missing in action.
You were of the same mind, right? The first one you thought was just eh.
Sure. I mean, I thought it was fine. Some people hated it. I'm like, come on, like it's fine. It's not a piece of shit. Like shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. It's not a piece of shit. It's fine. Like, really, that's a piece of shit. I'd love to see what you'd say about a really bad movie. Would you just jump off a cliff if you saw, fucking, bloody murder? But anyway,
This is
yeah,
going
I thought it was
beautifully because it's going to tie into what the next thing I wanted to talk about was.
okay, cool. But yeah, I thought the sequel was honestly fantastic. I thought it was a 4-star film. And there were some things that are, of course, derivative and stuff that you like, okay, they got to do that. Or I don't like some of the dream-esque type of killings where like they smash the plates in their face real quick and you can tell it's like some kind of like I would have liked it more organic and more painful. But, that's just the style that they think is popular, the way that those kinds of sequences are supposed to look. But I mean, I was like, why am I going to watch a movie about a pop star singer? What do I have in common with her? Why am I going to relate to this? But then I realized, oh, I care about the situation she's in. I care about the story she's dealing with. I care about everything around her, So it was awesome. It was just fucking awesome.
Well,
I'm ready for a third one, quite frankly.
yeah, I am too, especially after that ending, because I think that opens up so much. Like, where do you go from here? Because I think the possibilities are endless now with how that movie ended.
Well, if this is Paramount's MO, then we're gonna get a prequel next. The next one's gonna be a prequel, like Paranormal Activity 3. So we'll get the prequel to Smile. And it'll be based off of the girl, and it'll be based off of the girl that was in the hospital room in part 1. We'll get her journey.
Oh, sick! Can't wait.
Dude, watch it. Could be.
I'm not doubting. Yeah, that they might do some shit like that.
That's what they do.
So then, organically flowing into the next thing that I wanted to ask you about. You said like some people talked, so much shit about this movie, like it was a piece of shit. And that's obviously not the case. What is the worst movie you've seen in theaters? If you can think back throughout your life, like what is the movie that stands out that you're like, you were angry, like having seen it in theaters, like you were like, this is dog shit.
Does it have to be horror?
No, it can be any movie.
Okay. One of them is definitely Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds. That was probably like the biggest thing where I was like, I don't like these stupid superhero movies. Like, this is so ridiculous. I hated it. The problem is with horror, the worse it is, the more I enjoy the theater experience. So like I saw Bye Bye Man in the theater, and that movie was so bad I was laughing my ass off. But it is a piece of shit. But I was laughing. I wasn't like, same thing with Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Like, people were laughing at the movie, not with it.
Yeah.
But like Green Lantern, really, like I hated that movie more than probably anything in my life. Just truly hated it. I thought it was stupid. And I'm like, these superhero movies ain't for me. Of course, I've seen some since then, but Dude, that's tough. I've actually witnessed people walk out of movies that they hated that I was like, I remember people walking out of Halloween 2. I remember people walking out of Borat. But see, I loved all those.
Oh my
Um,
god.
I'm trying to think, dude. It's like, yeah, I don't think it's got to just be Green Lantern. With horror, I can't recall. Maybe if you have an idea of something that you would have picked, and it can get my memory jogging a little bit more. But off memory, I don't know that I've ever had a shit experience with especially horror, with a horror movie in theaters. I don't think.
I mean, for me, I did a video on it uh, a week or so ago, and it was basically just like in terms of like the quality of the movie, the theater going experience itself. I think it was just like a snowball effect. Like it all just kind of sucked. But I think one of the most disappointed that I can think of that I've been walking out of a movie was 100% um, Slender Man
I didn't
because
see that in theaters. I bought it
yeah,
on Blu-ray.
and it was just because like obviously us being around the same age and coming up with the internet, you remember creepy pasta, and you remember how like Slenderman, the lore, and everything like that. That kind of took over the internet for a while, and to finally get a movie and have it be so bad was
Mhm.
like really fucking disappointing, man. Like it was just like you could have done so much. They could have made a franchise. I mean, they really and this. You know, the funny thing is that movie made money too.
I'm
It
sure
got
it did.
yeah, it got obliterated by critics and fans, but it still turned a profit. But I just remember like I walked out of that movie and I was like angry. Like I was genuinely pissed off at what I saw on screen. And then furthermore, the experience itself sucked. The projector fucked up at the beginning of the movie. A bunch of
Oh,
teenagers in there talking on their phones, like so it was just a terrible experience all around. And I actually said in the video that I made that I was like, and so later on when it came out on streaming, I watched it again. I wanted to give it a chance. And I wanted to see if the theater experience had colored my opinion somewhat. No, it's a dog shit movie. It really,
terrible.
really is.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can think of, but I don't know, dude. I've had a lot of good experiences with movies. Um, Even the stuff that I don't love, like I enjoyed seeing Saw X in the theater. I was laughing at some of it, but I mean, I still enjoyed it. I actually thought the traps were really fun in Saw X. Probably the best part about the movie, in my opinion.
I I
Like
still
this,
can't believe that you didn't like that.
I think you can. I think you completely understand where I'm coming from. I think you also agree that it's a horrible precedent to start making movies sequels that take place between movies that came out 20 something years ago and trying to convince an audience that people look the same way that they do 25 years later. I think
Well,
you
that's the
absolutely see where I'm coming from with that.
But that's the creative team's fault. They fucking killed everybody. They keep killing every new apprentice. They keep killing everyone. So it's like, how do you keep making Saw movies that like people want Tobin Bell, people want
Yeah.
Costas Mandalore, they want Shawnee, like
And see, and this is where I am not like the rest of the Saw fans, where I say, okay, I can play ball like this if you guys want to do sequels between sequels. Got to bring back the guy from Saw, from Jigsaw. I liked
Logan.
him. I liked Logan. I didn't think there's anything wrong with him. That movie was less than 10 years ago. The movie wasn't great. Some problems. It's the only one with flat screens. It's the oldest one. But if we're going to play ball like this, you have to at least make it somewhat believable for me.
Fair. Fair. I
So
hear you.
I like Shawnee Smith. I'm still convinced I'm in the Twilight Zone because I tell you what, no, I'm not. I'm not convinced. I think if they did it again and put her in another one and put a bad wig on her and see that she's just naturally aged and her skin isn't as tight in the face because she's like a normal human being. She's getting older. You can't like she I don't think she's into all the Hollywood Botoxing and all that. So she just looks like a normal person, but she's 25. When did Saw come out? 2003?
4.
2004. So she filmed it in 2003, 20
Yeah.
something years later. I think if they do it
yeah.
again, then it would definitely, people are going to start to say, okay, we're really, you guys really starting to, and of course, you know, what's his face has the luxury of being a cancer patient in the movies, so you can believe his appearance since he's in his 80s now, Tobin Bell. Listen, nobody loves Saw as much as me. Actually, that's not true. I love Saw as much as the next guy. That's what I meant to say. But, I mean, at least Halloween faked a new timeline. That way it's like, okay, forget all that. Like, we're going to, this is a new, at least they do that. Like, this one's trying to make me believe that I'm watching people that are 35 years old when they're 58 now.
But
It's
in
just
fairness,
it's silliness.
it is. But in fairness, as a Saw fan like you are and like I am, I speak for myself. I want to, in your opinion, wouldn't you kind of reject that though with Saw? Saw is Halloween's not a franchise that has been super linear. Every movie has been as important as the next one in terms of like connective tissue, whereas Saw has literally been episodic. Everything is supposed to tie in. So in that franchise, I would reject it if they were like, this is a separate alternate timeline. I personally would be like, no, fuck that. Like, I don't know.
Well, yes and no. You could argue that, I mean, technically Spiral is in the universe, but it's its own thing.
Yeah.
This is where I differ from everybody. I like that movie. I respect the fact that they did something new and they're not trying to shove late 50s people in a movie pretending to be 30. But I'm the only, I get it. I am on the outside of this whole franchise. Clearly, everybody loves Saw X. I don't. Everybody loves it. It's probably one of, if not the highest rated Saw movies. I don't know where I went wrong. I prefer the movies to be a lot more gray, shades of gray, and less black and white. I prefer to not like Jigsaw all the time. You know what? You're fucking taking it too far, dude. Like, I prefer to have those moments of back and forth. That's why Devil's Rejects is a fucking brilliant movie. And yes, I said brilliant because you could watch it one time and say, I'm on Team Firefly. You can watch it again and say, I'm with the sheriff. Fuck these guys. That's brilliant. That's what Saw did. I could be back and forth. Sometimes I'm like, what's his face in part 2? Man, he is a piece of shit cop. I'm with Kramer. Other times I can say, if that was my kid, I would be so hysterically panicked.
I love Donnie. I love Donnie.
But you see my point. That's the brilliant. Saw 2 is brilliant. I mean, it is. It's a great sequel. Along the way, though, these people have become anti-heroes and these characters are legendary. So I think naturally they said people are going to, I'm convinced that the story really leans toward what they thought the fans would want. They love Kramer. He's a horror icon. The character is iconic. Let them cheer for him. I don't want to cheer for him necessarily. I want there to be back and forth. I want to be challenged. I was not challenged with Saw X. I was not challenged in the thought process whatsoever. I have gone a separate way. The rest of the Saw fans have, and that's fine. I can understand that they're not going to make the movie based on what I want, but I also like that we did something new with Spiral. Wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. And I think that Jigsaw was ridiculous, but at the same time, if you're going to bring somebody back, bring him back.
Oh no, I'll say if you're going to bring somebody back, bring Gordon back. Dude, we spent 7 movies building up to that moment, and then what? It's just like at the very end, like.
Well, and that's fine, but why not bring Gordon back in not a retrospective way, but after Spiral? He's still alive.
Yeah.
Why do we have to keep going back in time?
No, we don't have to. I would be totally fine with, and I've argued for this for many times over the years that I want to see a follow-up to 7 because there was enough there at the end of 7 that was interesting for the fans. Hoffman was still alive. He was just in the bathroom. Gordon had just been revealed to be like the ultimate apprentice. You come back, you can still obviously use Jigsaw's voice because they do it in every movie regardless. And Hoffman and Gordon are still alive.
There's enough places you can go. I honestly think what they did with Saw X was more harm than good. Because ultimately, when they do make another one, Nick, mark my words, they will abandon what they did with Saw X. They will abandon it. It will probably lean in another direction and do something else.
I don't know.
It's short-term thinking.
It is, but I don't I don't think they'll abandon it simply just because the whole holdup right now with the next Saw movie is due to the financials. They know that the Saw X was a big hit, and
Probably bigger than they could have imagined. Wasn't it one of the more successful ones?
it made over 100 million. A lot of them did make over 100 million, except when they got into like Saw 5, Saw 6. That's when you started to see diminishing returns, and then Saw 7 made a lot of money. And
Yeah,
it was
because they were basically saying, "Hey, this is it. Get your asses to the
yeah,
theaters so we can make up the money for 5 and 6."
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
a
and then it
shame
was
because
yeah,
the people you were probably like me when I was in the theater for Saw 5, I was like, "Where is everybody?" You know, before that, 3 and 4, I remember 4 was a packed fucking house. I go to the theater for 5, I go to the theater for 6. Me and my brother are there, and I'm like, "Where is everybody?"
yeah.
Nobody was going to them anymore. Couldn't believe it.
Nobody cared anymore. But and that was the thing too, is like so
Those are some of the
and
better
then
movies in my opinion too.
and then
So,
Jigsaw made like $100 million, but it had been almost a decade since the last one. So people were like kind
yeah,
of fiending
there's
for it.
yeah.
And then Spiral. I think Spiral was what caused the reset for the series because they were like, let's try to see if Saul can have a life outside of John Kramer and what the fans already know. And what they saw, in their opinion, I think it had to do with other factors too, like COVID and everything, because that movie was like one of the first movies to go straight to theaters, no day and date, like in 2021.
Yeah.
And it did not do well at all. It
No.
did not make money. It did not get good reviews. And I think they got cold feet after that. And they're like, we have to go back to the well.
I
Like,
agree with that. I agree with that. I definitely think Saw X was probably reactionary, but at the same time, you're starting another problem based off of a previous problem. You're not fixing it. You're band-aiding a problem, in my opinion. I think you have to move forward. You have to move forward. Um, Everything, in my opinion, it starts in the writing. The Jigsaw, that's its problems. You could have made a better film there. You could have made a little bit more sense or gone out of your way to at least make it look more early 2000s. But I think they kind of avoided that to make you think what time are we in? But at the same time, I don't know. But my point is, I think you need to go forward. This trying to make people look younger or not even pretending to make them look younger. I just think the audience is I don't know, dude. Like I really think you can do something after after 7 or even Spiral. Where is Gordon? Where is like you said, your
yeah.
homeboy's in the bathroom. Um there's things that can be done there. And I don't, in my opinion, I never Saw as a series diminish in quality. Other people could disagree with me. I think Saw 1 through final chapter is a great episodic series. I do. You may have things you like more about some of the previous ones. I think 5 and 6 are some of the better stories. I'll always defend 5. I think the characters in that movie were great. I think Hoffman really became a vicious heel in 5, which I loved him in 5. And I thought 6 was absolutely fantastic. And I thought 7 was pretty satisfactory. The storytelling in those movies, it's some of the better stuff. People can shit on me for saying that, but like I'll always have Saw's back in terms of like being a series that you want to binge it because you're not seeing a Jason that looks totally different with a different hockey mask on, which makes no sense. And I'm just picking on Jason because I'm looking at a little toy of him right in front of me. But my point is, not many series have been as consistent as Saw was. And you're right, that is amazing. But I just find what they're doing now is going to do more harm than good. That's all I'm getting at. And I clearly am on the outs because people want more from Saw, like what they got from X. I'm clearly
Well,
not the guy for this.
I don't necessarily know if that's true, though, honestly. Like, I don't think that most fans would reject a follow up from 7. I actually think a lot of fans would be okay with that. I just think that I think what happens is that you start to ask the question of, well, where do you go? And I wouldn't have that question personally because, like we already talked about, bro, you've got Gordon now being in charge, and you've got Hoffman still alive. There's plenty of places to go, but I think that they hamstrung themselves making Saw X because now people are going to expect a follow up to that movie because that movie does not end satisfactorily. Let's call a spade a spade. That bitch lives. and everyone wanted to see her die. And so clearly they already talked about that. I think Kevin Gruder, the director, had even said like that her story was unresolved on purpose. Like they're going to follow that up. The chick that was behind all of that. So it's just like I think Saw X kind of screwed them in that way, where it's like I don't know if we'll ever see a follow up to 7 because I think they think they know what fans want, and I think they think that fans will only accept one of these things now, and that would be obviously continuing from Saw X. But I reject that premise personally. I think that fans would accept a continuation from 7. I would.
Well, let me ask you this: why has there not been anything yet? At least an announcement. Like it's why is like what's the holdup? Because Tobin Bell's not getting any younger.
So the specifics of why are still pretty. It's hard to know the exact specifics of why. It's a money thing, and with the studio, the producers, I don't know if it's payment amounts, like how much I don't know, but it is a money thing. And it's gotten to the point where they're actually shopping it around to different studios. That was the last
Well,
report.
like with Lionsgate, or are you talking about production houses that would actually make the
production
film?
houses. From what I've been,
But wait, that's the Twisted Pictures. They've made every Saw movie, right?
yeah, but always in. See, this is I don't want to speak too much on stuff I don't know all the fine details. What I know is that all we know, and it's been widely reported, is that it's a financial issue behind the scenes with the producers mainly, Mark Berg and I think because you had the Warren Cools or Kaufman, because one of them passed away, but it was like it was a team of 3 producers that were behind all the movies from the beginning, and apparently they are the holdup behind the scenes. And I don't know if it's because they're like, hey, we want to go to other people and maybe see if I don't know if it's like we want to go to different production houses and see if we can get more money. We can get a better deal. We can get more long-term security. I don't know what it is, but it is all I know is it is the producers that are behind the disputes behind the scenes. And there was also a report that the producers are also unsure of the right direction to take the franchise from this point forward. I guess some people behind the scenes want to continue from Saw X and some don't. And so that was also a point of contention. If all sides can't agree in which way to move, then they're not going to move forward, which sucks because the director, Kevin Gruder, who also directed Saw 6, which is a very good movie, he wants to continue from Saw X. And he's made that very clear. And he already had a script and ideas and everything. And everybody was ready to come back. Tobin Bell, like they were all ready to come back. So they're basically just in a waiting period right now for the producers to decide who's going to finance this movie, basically. Who's going to distribute this movie? How much are we going to make? How much are we going to have to pay them? It's a lot of that type of shit.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a fucking mess.
Yep.
Well, that means only one thing. We need a new Paranormal Activity then. You laugh. I would fucking
To kill Saul again?
I would literally give my left nut right now for a new Paranormal Activity, especially after Next of Kin. People can eat a bag of fucking dicks. That movie is awesome, especially Jason
He
Blum.
means me.
Especially Jason Blum. Eat a bag of dicks. Next of Kin was like one of the best Paranormal Activity films. That movie was so fucking cool. The ending is amazing. That scene of her getting dropped down the well is so fucking suspenseful. That movie is fucking magic. It's so good. I need another one, but I don't want anything like that one. I want to do something else or go back to basics and truly make some great fucking scenes of a couple in a bed or somebody sleeping and some fucked up shit happens.
Do you think that because obviously the last one went straight to Paramount Plus, and obviously it didn't make a lot of waves. Not a lot of people talked about it. Do you think that series has just kind of run its course in the sense of like it's never going to be a hot commodity again? Like, do you think that
I'll be
its
honest with
heyday?
you. I'll be honest with you. Before Saw X, if you would have asked me that question and put Saw X in terms of Paranormal Activity, I would have said, "Oh yeah, it's ran its course." I think if they made a new one, they could, and I think if they did a new one and promoted it, it could be huge. Because here's the thing, dude. I'm kind of annoyed with the internet right now because Paranormal Activity has become the new Blair Witch. LOL, that shit wasn't scary. Like that's like 10 years ago, I hear that about the Blair Witch all the time. Now it's LOL, that shit was stupid. LOL, that shit wasn't scary. I can't believe people were actually scared by this. Paranormal Activity has now gotten that dogpiling. I think Blair Witch is getting older now. It's considered just a vintage classic where it loses the criticism of not being scary because that's a thing, I guess. Really. But Paranormal Activity is getting that shit. It's now taking the mantle of the LOL, that shit's not scary. And I think that's bullshit. I think if you were in that theater and you were experiencing that movie,
You had to live
it was
through it, man.
fucking insane. Dude, my whole I was in financial math. My teacher brings the movie up. This is 2009. Everybody starts talking about it. The whole class, we were all like, let's go. And we took up a whole fucking row in the theater. People were getting up and running. I'll never forget it. So I want to experience another Paranormal Activity in the theater. I think Next of Kin would have been honestly a great theater experience, but I think if they do another one, go back to basics and do something else. I mean, it's a demon. It could be any demon. It doesn't have to be the one with Katie. It's kind of hysterical the fact that they actually made an episodic, series with Paranormal Activity. But I want
Part 3 is the
dude.
best fucking one. Part 3 is the best fucking
It
one.
is, but the thing is, even the lesser sequels, I think there's some moments. It's funny. I'm not going to single out anybody, but I know somebody that when they saw the one with the Mexican friends, which I love that one.
The marked ones. The marked ones. Great. Yeah.
Their review was them tearing up a ticket. And I went to the theater and I was going to do a review on it. And I was like, fuck, I guess I shouldn't say anything. I guess nobody likes this movie. But I loved the marked ones. The moment where they drop the camera down the ventilator and you see the naked fat grandma. There's no explanation there. They never explain that.
No.
It was like, what the fuck is that?
Sorry, let's go. I just hit a $200 bet.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
I had to, that's why I muted my mic and did. But no. So the marked ones, that's similar. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's probably been Christian's dying, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I want to rewatch these movies right now.
That's similar to Spiral, right? In the sense of like, it's the fifth one. Obviously, it's after 4, it's before 6, but it's like separate. It's its own thing. I remember it's like lower income, like apartments, I believe. It's like a Hispanic family. I'm right? That's the one I'm thinking of.
The marked ones.
Yeah. And I remember I didn't go see that one in theaters because the last one I saw in theaters, Christian, was part 4, and that's
the worst one in my opinion.
Oh, it sucks. And you told me, what was it, like a year ago? You told me to rewatch part 6, and you were like, honestly, dude, like it's not as bad as people say. And like, what was it that you kept talking about? They
do some cool experimental stuff where you see like the outline of the demon and these cosmic flurries. And the ending is weird where you see the guys, you see like this disgusting foot at the very end. I'm not saying it's good. I think the blonde hair woman is gorgeous. She's awesome to look at. And I also think that it has moments. And that's all it is. I just think I would take Paranormal Activity Ghost Dimension over 4 every day of the week, twice on Sunday. I'd take Ghost Dimension over 4. That's what I'm truly getting at. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not trying to say it's a great movie, but I think it's got entertainment value.
Okay, that's so and I'll agree with you that I've definitely taken over part 4. And when I rewatched it, I think you and I talked about it afterward, and I was like, yeah, I didn't hate it. Like, it does have some goofiness to it, but like, I mean, whatever. But I don't know what it is about part 4. And like you say, like, I want to go back and rewatch these movies, and like now I kind of want to as well. But then I also worry that I'm like, I'd have to watch part 4 again. And I don't know what it was about that movie, but I just remember, I probably haven't seen it in like 10 years. I remember hating that. I thought it was a piece of shit. Like I thought it was actively a piece of shit. And
It was the
I think the
first one I
main
watched.
focus is like a teenage girl, right?
It was the first, and that teenage girl, she's going on a bunch of different movies now. I think she did Freaky or whatever it was called.
Holy shit, is that Catherine Newton?
You'd have to Google it, or I may Google it. I'll Google it for you.
There's no way that's Catherine Newton.
Yeah, it's her. She was in Lisa Frankenstein too, which I fucking love that movie.
I'll be a son of a bitch. I did not realize that was Catherine Newton.
Yeah. I really liked Lisa Frankenstein. I don't know if you saw that. That was a great little comedy. It's funny because I put that in my best of for 2024. And dude, Nick, you know what the worst thing is? Like, I'm not bragging. I swear I'm not.
Tell me about the worst thing.
I've gotten to the point now where I have enough people watching my channel that there's a significant amount that just don't like anything I say. There's like once you hit this certain point to where it just starts, it's absolutely positively unavoidable. And when I say certain things, I just piss people off. I like Lisa Frankenstein. People are like, that movie is the biggest pile of shit. Fuck you, you idiot. I'm like, what?
So you have you have hate watchers, dedicated hate watchers.
Yeah. I've gotten to that point, man, and you know, it's just part of the game. I used to be naive and think, you know what? I don't say anything out of pocket. I'll be nice. Everybody's gonna like me. Wrong.
Yeah, that's a nice dream to have.
But yeah, that's her. She was in Abigail, but yeah, I remember she was in Freaky, and I said, this girl looks super familiar, and I'm pretty sure what I had done, I did look up. That was her in Paranormal Activity 4. My point is, that's the worst one. It's just it felt, that was the first time I saw a Paranormal Activity movie where I said to myself, okay, well, they're just making these it's a means to an end. They're trying to make money. The gravy train's still there. But after that, with the marked ones, I was like, wow, I loved it.
Yeah. Well, isn't that crazy too? Because like Paranormal Activity 4 was literally coming off of the heels of 3, which a lot of and a lot of people say that, and it didn't feel like they were running out of ideas. Although I will say, 3 kind of wraps up those first 3 movies really well. So they did kind of have to like do a reset in a way if they were going to continue, and obviously the money was there; they were going to continue. But I'll take Paranormal Activity 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy up there with a lot of trilogies, man. Like I really will in terms of quality.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me?
And I think the only people who disagree with that would be the people that don't like found footage. And guys, if at this point in your life, if you don't like found footage, you're never gonna like it. You're just not gonna like it. It's not your format. You don't dig it. I totally get it. But like, yeah.
I'd like to think that's not the case. It probably is. To me, I equate it with zombie films. Oh, I'm not really into zombie movies. No, you just haven't watched one that got you yet. There's
Lucio Fulci's Zombie, Return of the Living Dead. Christian knows I'm not a huge zombie fan. I love both of those movies based off of his recommendation. So
I think with found footage, it could be the same thing. And dude, I'm a huge proponent of the Skype, FaceTime technology based stuff. I saw one. Unfriended was I like the ghost, not the ghost dimension, the dark web one too.
Yeah.
I liked there was a movie called Searching, which was sensational, and then they did another.
I saw that in theaters. Yeah,
with John. Chu.
Or no, I saw. Yeah, the one where the daughter they end up finding her at the end. She's like in that canyon or whatever, right?
They find a mama. Yeah, that's missing. I saw that in January in the theaters, and I was like, it's not as good as Searching, but it is good. I mean, because it kept you guessing.
Yep.
It's a mystery. I think those movies, like it's got high ratings too.
Oh yeah.
It's got really high ratings.
The best thing those movies do is like, it starts off as like, did they run away? Were they kidnapped? Were they attacked? Is there something nefarious going on? Were they embezzling money? Like there's all these things. And then it's like, when you actually find out what it is, you're like, oh, damn. Like I remember seeing that one in theaters, and I really, really liked that one. And I love how they used the technology, and it was actually like accurate too. Like FaceTime, all that shit. It was all very accurate. And it goes to show you too, nowadays, your digital footprint is everywhere. Like you're never actually going to go missing. Like You can, but it's a lot harder to these days. You can't just disappear.
Yeah, dude. And then the one before that, Searching, I believe it was Pizzal who had just reviewed it, and I love John Cho.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. I've watched a lot of shit he's been in, like obviously Harold and Kumar. I grew up with him watching all that shit. I remember him from Star Trek. But dude, Searching was like one of the best found footage movies I'd ever seen. I was like amazed by how the mystery being kept up was. And I hope they do another one in that vein. There was Searching, then there's Missing. Now we've got to find what would be the third one. Like, what's another word? It has to be in the realm of that. I'd have to figure it out.
Oh God. A good question.
I don't know, but my point is, I'm a big proponent of. I think found footage has a lot of avenues you can go now, and it doesn't. That you don't have to do shaky cam stuff. It doesn't have to be, that doesn't have to be a thing for everything. So I don't know. Like I love the genre. I always will defend the genre. I'm just a big fan of it, but it doesn't mean I like everyone. Like there's ones I avoid. I tell people to avoid, like The Plague, like the Collingswood story, just a movie that came out right after Blair Witch. Just boring as fuck. There's certain ones I don't like.
They're making a new Hell House, right? There's a new Hell House coming out.
I heard, yeah, but I don't know when it's coming out. You watched Origins, right?
Yeah, I did. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Okay. I still feel this way. I think it's the best one. Hands down, I think it's the best one. And I would say why.
The first one's still my favorite, but it was up there, yeah.
There's moments in Origins that every time I rewatch it, I'm still like, holy fucking shit. There's a scene where the guy's at the house by himself, and the clowns were in that room that they broke the door off of, and you see the shadow and you hear the footsteps, and the guy, like, it's so intense because it's those old, like late 1800s hardwood floors in that plantation house. But what fucking killed me was when you see the hand on the corner of the room where it's the girl.
Oh yeah.
That scene fucked me. That scene fucked me when I saw it. And I will say this. I know that when I love something, I'm a salesman. I get that. I can talk about something. I want you to love it but my thing is this. The best return rate I've ever had on a movie I've recommended people was Origins. I said, listen, say what you want about 2, say what you want about 3. I think they're good. I think they tell a story. I'm always impressed when found footage researchers. I said, but listen, Origins had no fucking business being that good. And that's the best return rate I've ever had on a horror movie was Origins. So that's my favorite one. I do think it eclipses the first one, and I also love the ending where like you just hear the guy like screaming, the brother, spoiler, and like his voice it's unsettling. I love those movies passionately. Hell House is probably top 10 found footage movie of all time.
Did Origins get a physical release?
In Australia. So yes,
okay.
I have it. It's up there. It's the Hell House box set. Hell House, the first movie has a DVD. I don't think the sequels do outside of that box set. But America needs to get on the ball with that because I know not everybody wants to import stuff from Australia. But yeah, I have it. And dude, that was my favorite release of last year. I fucking love Hell House. That movie, those movies are so great.
2024 was a really good year. I was talking to Justin about that the other day. I don't think it gets talked about enough. Like that was actually it was a pretty good year last year for horror. I think all around. Yeah. But there's one final thing because we're
just for the record, Origins was 23. I'm not saying you were including. I'm saying Origins was 23.
Okay. I watched it last year because I didn't watch it when it first came out. And then I was last year.
You fucking won. I couldn't wait. I was waiting with bated breath.
And I remember asking Christian, I was like, because I'm pretty sure you did a review. And
I did a short review on it, but I even said that. I said, oh, guys, I just watched the best fucking, and I still agree. I still think the best one of, if not the best horror movies of that year was Origins. Just fucking crushed it for me.
And I didn't watch it till last year, but I remember asking you about it. I think I might have watched it around Halloween time. I think that's when I watched it. And He told me straight
I
up.
probably
He's like,
would shut
it's
the
the
fuck
best
up.
one. He's like, it's the best one. Like you got it. It's my favorite one. I was like, all right. And I'll be honest, the first like half hour or so, I wasn't like totally into it. And maybe that was just being a little bit too removed from the Hell House movies. I hadn't watched them in a while. So if you go back and watch them, guys, that's how all of the movies are. They take a while to get going. It's like, but once they get going, they really get going. And also one thing I love about those movies is, and you notice it on rewatches, there's shit happening in the periphery, in the background, literally all the time. Like little things that are like kind of weird. Something is misplaced. You like, there's just shit in those movies. And I specifically think back to the scene, and I believe it's the first one with the fucking clowns, where like the heads are turned. Like,
oh God,
you see him there, and then as soon as the camera comes back around, the POV, it's like a different position they're in. Like it's just like little shit like that it's really, really effective. But I wanted to.
Oh shit. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just Googled this. Is there going to be another Hell House movie? The AI overview, which basically, I guess, summarizes the results. It says, yes, according to current information, there will be another Hell House LLC titled Hell House LLC Lineage, which is scheduled for release in 2025, making it the fifth in the franchise. It will explore the backstories of existing characters and new ones. It's the same director, Stephen Cognetti, and it'll probably be on
Shudder, I think, right?
Shudder.
You think it'll be like October? Wasn't that when the last one dropped?
Dude, film. Okay. Hell House LLC Lineage is the upcoming fifth installment. Written directed by Stephen Cognetti. In July 2024, Lineage was announced with a teaser trailer. Filming began on October 29th, 2024, and will be released exclusively through Shudder in October of 2025. Fuck yes.
There you go.
Fuck yes. Dude,
Christian didn't even know that, guys. I told him. I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a new one coming.
Well, I did hear about that, but it's been a minute. Odd number years are always my years. 2023, I thought was a great year for horror. 2024 was good too, but I'm an odd number year guy. That's where my luck is. Right now, we're in an odd number year, 25. This is going to be it. And listen,
they have a poster for it too, right? A teaser poster.
Let me see.
I'm pretty sure I saw it a couple weeks ago on Twitter.
Let me just do like an image search. Not that I can really tell. Nothing that looks official or anything.
Okay.
I see pictures of the slate on set and everything.
Okay.
But
so
man,
I was misremembering that. But
there's some teaser images with a clown in a cornfield, which is so ironic because
I haven't watched that trailer yet, but people say it looks good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the books. Sydney loves the books. She read all. I have them all. We have them in our house. She has all the books.
I
she read them.
I shouted that out on Wednesday on me and Justin's show. I said, because someone asked about it in the chat, and I said no. Christian told me about it because he said his wife read the books, and he said there was a movie coming out, but I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't watched the trailer yet.
So I mean, that's fun too, but I don't think it's going to be a huge thing. It looks like it was fairly modest from what I the images I saw. I don't watch trailers, but I'm not expecting much out of that.
Well, here's the last thing, because we're bumping up right now on 2 hours, y'all, which I'm having a blast. So, But
I'm gonna call it right now, really quick, for the record. Hell House Lineage will be the best movie of this year. Mark my fucking words.
But but I worry. Don't set yourself up for like disappointment though, because what if it's not?
It will be.
Okay, it will be. There you go, guys.
This guy is not missing. This guy is like the Michael Jordan.
Well, as long as it's still him, as long as it's still the same dude. Yeah.
Because he gets suspense. He gets it. Anyway, what's your question?
Yeah. Someone let slip the other day on the red carpet at a movie premiere. They kind of unofficially announced a sequel that's in development for a really popular cult classic horror movie. Amanda Seyfried said that they're making a Jennifer's Body 2.
Oh,
and then she was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that yet." But she said, "Yeah, we're making it." And I wanted to know your thoughts on that because I fucking love Jennifer's Body. And I think that'd be. But then the question is, do you bring Megan Fox back?
You have to.
You have to. I mean, yeah.
And I can't wait to see a late 30s Jennifer Fox. I guarantee you she's gonna be so fucking sexy. I
Yeah.
love Jennifer Fox. So I'm so excited. I thought that was dude, I think Jennifer's Body is quintessential late 2000s horror. Like the
Yeah.
aesthetic of it, the far like I thought there was no more aesthetic to movies when I was watching movies around that time. But now that we've gotten away from it, there is such a aesthetic for late 2000s horror. And it's very
Yeah.
different from late 2000s is very different from early 2000s. But
And this is what we were going to talk about tonight, guys, and we got to it right at the end. So we'll do it, I promise, but not tonight. But yeah.
I literally can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's super fun, and we need those kinds of. I call them kind of teeny, like teen horror films. And I loved Homeboy. You know, I'm talking about the actor was in that. He was in a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
stuff around that time.
Kyle Gallner.
Kyle Gallner.
Mhm.
But she's great. I like him in a lot of movies.
Yeah,
So
but he got fucking ate up, bro. Jennifer killed his ass.
yeah, but you absolutely positively, without a shadow of a doubt, Jennifer's Body is Megan Fox. There is no, you have to.
Yeah.
I saw that they're also supposedly doing a new Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I used to watch that when I was a kid on the WB, but I don't remember much about it.
I never watched it. I saw a lot of people are excited though, and I did see that Sarah Michelle Gellar came out and said like, "Hey, this is going to be good. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't believe in it." But it's also been confirmed that she's taking more of like a mentoring role in this one. She's not going to be like the main character. But I know a lot of people are really excited because that show was really popular.
It is. It's funny because I have some friends that I kind of met through Elm Street related stuff on TikTok, and one of them is like a big Buffy fan, and like it's huge, the fan base. It's kind of like Twin Peaks, where it's like you don't know how big it is until you see it with your own eyes, how big of a fan base it is, but it is. Which cool. I've never really watched. Like I said, I watched it when I was a kid, but I don't remember much about it. I just remember what's her face was the actress. She was really big on. She
Yeah.
was on TV all the time, but
there's
good
a
for them.
sequel. As long as we're in this era right now where there's like we're bringing back a lot of stuff, nostalgia, and I think right now we're in the '90s nostalgia. That's where we really are, but it's starting to get into the early 2000s. Obviously, making a sequel to Jennifer's Body, that would be 2000s nostalgia. But there's one thing, man, I'll die for this thing. I will die for a third Scooby-Doo movie, live action. I swear to God, I'll give my left nut for it. I mean, I
I
really,
agree.
really will. I loved those two movies. I thought they casted those roles literally perfectly. They were so fun for kids that grew up with the cartoon Scooby-Doo. I can watch Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed right now as a 30-year-old and still laugh and still have fun. And like, I'm sure Matthew Lillard, he'd come back and play Shaggy at 70, dude. Like, they need to just do it. They need to do a third one. I know it'd make a shitload of money too. Like, I need it. While we're in the era of nostalgia, bring that back.
Yeah,
Shit.
I mean, I would totally be down for a Scooby-Doo movie too. I grew up with those as well. Love them. I love the first one so much. Let me ask you this. Last thing, do you think Scream with what they're doing with Scream, this is my thoughts. They're obviously announcing all this shit now. I think they're either clamoring to just get people excited after everything that would happen with Melissa, or an emphasis more on what they're doing is way more intelligent and smart than we could comprehend right now, and they're doing something that we're not going to see coming whatsoever. Because on the surface, announcing all this, I think optically looks dumb. And it looks, what's the kids say? It's giving desperate. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
I think it's giving desperate. That's what I think. But my thing is that the case? Or do you think what they're doing is they are they are 10 steps ahead of the audience right now with what they're doing. It's either one of the two, in my opinion. I don't think there's an in between on it.
So I'm probably more charitable than some would be with this and the outlook of this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt, and I think they're gonna be 10 steps ahead of everybody. And I think the reason they're making all these announcements in a flurry, especially, I think they want to confuse people. I think they want people to think, first of all, what the fuck is going on? And then to have all these content creators making all these videos talking about it, pontificating with their own theories, and none of them be what it's actually going to be. Or like I've had this conversation with so many people about specifically Matthew Lillard's announcement. And a lot of people are like, well, why would you announce that? Obviously, they wouldn't have announced it if he's alive and he's the killer. So that's not going to be his involvement in this movie. So then what's his involvement? I think that's really what it is. I think that Kevin Williamson and a lot of people in the know behind the scenes have said, like, this is a really smart script. Like, it really is like, and you know how Scream is always topical. And the rumor is AI is going to play a role in this. Now, before anybody asks me, well, how would they do that? I don't know shit about AI. Really, I don't. But there's a lot of things they could do. And some of the theories are like, it could be FaceTime calls where you're getting a call from Dewey, but it's AI generated. They actually bring the actor in to do, that stuff, but it's Ghostface fucking with these people. So like when Gail gets a call, it's Dewey, but it's actually just being recreated with AI. And that can be done for numerous reasons. Obviously, one, to get under these people's skin, but also two, to make them wonder, is
What's
this shit
going on?
like,
Yeah,
like what the fuck is going on? And what is more topical right now that Scream could touch on than like AI and the implementation of it in society? Like I personally think that's what it is. And that's what the rumors are too. And because some of these characters, I'm a Stuther, okay, guys? You guys know that. I believe he could have lived. Yeah, I'd be totally fine with that. But like Scott Foley, Roman, he's dead. He got shot in the dome. He's dead. So the fact that he's and Dewey, he's dead. He got gutted. Like, so if they're coming back, yeah, I mean, that's I'm believing the hype on that one, that it's going to be AI. But there's also people, and nobody in the industry has said this. This is fans pontificating. Well, what if it's like a new Nightmare thing? What if they're new Nightmaring this movie?
that's what I thought it was going to be. Like
I'm
they're
open.
what if they're all at a convention? They're at a Scream convention and they're all signing autographs and they all go out to eat at dinner and a crazed fan dresses up as Ghostface and is trying to kill them. That's the only reasonable explanation. But if that's the case, if we don't have Laurie Metcalf in this movie, then I'm out.
Yeah. Do you think she'd come back to Scream?
Absolutely.
She's older now, right?
I can't. Well, of course she's older.
Well, does she still act?
Yeah, she's doing the Connors.
I don't. Isn't that a spinoff of something?
Well, they fired Roseanne, and then they didn't fire Roseanne. They leveraged the show against her. Like, give us the rights to the show. That way we can continue to do it. So all these people can,
Roseanne's doing like cringy ass rap videos now. So
yeah, she's off a rocker again, clearly. But that doesn't change the fact that she created, in my opinion, the greatest sitcom of all time. But to answer your question, yes, Laurie Metcalf is still acting. She's still doing Connors, which I think they're wrapping up the last season of it right now. And I love Laurie Metcalf. She's one of my favorite TV personalities of all time. I think she's great. I thought she was great in Scream. I don't really give a rat's ass what anybody says in terms of reveals. I thought it was the only other one besides the original that like truly made a lot of sense. I didn't realize that Stu was supposed to be in 3, but Columbine changed. I didn't know that.
Yep.
So
that's what
cool.
that's what the fans always point back to when people are like, Stu's dead, let it go. I mean, technically, they always intended him to come back. So, I mean, and this is Kevin Williamson. So, like, but again, they would not have announced his involvement if he was going to be the one under the mask. You and I both know that surprise in the theater would have been literally legendary. Like, no matter whether you thought he was alive or not, imagine sitting in that theater not knowing that Matthew Lillard was in this movie. There was no hint of that whatsoever, and the Ghostface reveal is fucking Stu. Like, that moment would just be like, holy shit, what? Like, they would not have announced that. There's zero chance.
True, but my thing is this. The last thing I'll say about this is as fucked up as this sounds, I think that anybody in their respective field, they have their time. They have their era. Billy Joel stopped making records in 1993, and people always say, "Why are you not making any more records?" He said, "I've had my say. I knew when I knew I needed to stop." Because guess what? Elton John's been putting out records consistently ever since 93 when Billy Joel has stopped. Name me an Elton John song that's post 1993. Exactly.
I can
So
name one.
my
Yeah,
point
yeah.
is, my point is, I wonder if that's the same thing with Kevin Williamson. The guy had his pulse on the world for many years. And what if the guy's, I don't know, but what if Williamson is possibly a little out of touch? And what he thinks is brilliant and smart, if people can guess the movie before the whole thing, like what if you're right? Wouldn't you be a little bummed out by that? Like what if you already described the entire movie already using AI, using facial recognition, using this
But
other,
how
what
different
if
would that have been than any other Scream movie we've approached? We knew going into Scream 5 that it was going to be talking about requels. That was the whole point. We knew going into it was going to be focused on the requel formula, requels, reboots. Like,
yeah, but we didn't have any idea. But listen, they didn't say Kevin Spacey was in Seven, and it was the greatest reveal of all time.
yeah.
So my point is, I don't. My point is, this is why I go back to my earlier statement. This is either desperation or they are way ahead of us, and we can't comprehend what they're going to do yet. Because I don't understand. I don't see the point in announcing all of this. I don't. It's
I,
weird. Like they made
it,
like the guy that got killed in 3, got shot in the head, made headlines that he's coming back. Well, that's interesting, but why not bring back Cotton Weary? I have a theory that Cotton did kill the mama, but he's dead already. I have a
yeah.
theory that he did kill the mama.
We think he's dead. That's another person you could convince me he didn't die. He got stabbed in the chest one time.
Yeah.
At like you could convince me he was alive and he was behind it. What's Liev Schreiber doing? He's not really doing much acting these days. Come on back, Liev.
I think I think he does a lot of indies and he does movies that just would not hit our radar. They're weird.
Yeah.
They're kind of they're Sundance Film Festival type. He's one of
Look,
those actors, I think.
we're getting all these announcements, but I'm still waiting on them to announce the return of the Creed poster in Sydney's bedroom.
I saw a meme about that, which is funny.
That's what I need. Once I get that, I'm cool because Creed came back. So
they need to do a song for the movie.
Dude, don't get me started. They need to make a new album. I don't care. I want it. Like I want a new album. I don't care what anybody says. Full Circle is a good record. I don't give a shit. It's a good record.
It's a good record.
Yeah, like
I think the best record they did was Weathered. I know people go to Human Clay, but I love Weathered. I think Weathered's their best record.
I like Weathered. I like Human Clay. I like Full Circle. I'm kind of just a mark for it. Like I'll be honest with you. Yeah, gun to my head, I probably would say Human Clay is my favorite. Yeah, honestly. But man, people like really forget that in 2009, Creed actually did come out with an album. And a lot of you have heard the most popular song on that album, Rain. It's the most popular one, but there's really good tracks on that album. And I remember getting the iTunes notification last year. And I remember telling you about this, that a new release was out from Creed. It like came up on my phone. I was like, shut the fuck up. And it was the Stadium Anthems one. Like, and I was like, God damn it. Like it pissed me off. Like I wasn't going to lie. I'm like, Creed coming back and then they surprise drop an album too. I would have shit my pants. But there's still time. I mean, that tour was supposed to be a 3-day cruise. Then it went to a North America tour, then international tour, and they're doing a whole nother tour this year. So obviously,
like summer of '99.
Yeah, obviously people are paying to see them.
I would love to go see like a huge tour. Like if I was going to see like a summer of '99 tour, it would have to be Biscuit, Creed, Kid Rock. I'd want to see Kid Rock.
Yeah,
Zombie would be in there. Manson, and I'd want to have Lit in there. I think Lit would have to be in there because right before all the pop punk stuff really got going in the early 2000s, Lit was like that gap bridging band that got you from, that genre into the, the Fall Out Boys and Taking Back Sundays. I feel like Lit has that little sliver of time where they were the band, and then it kind of changed. That kind of punk genre changed a little bit, but yeah, it's cool.
Bring back who else? Fuck. System of a Down. They'd be on it. Which they came out with 2 singles like 2 years ago, and they're not very good. I'm sure you heard them.
They're fine. We protect the land,
Yeah.
and they're okay, but they're not They're records on an album. I don't think they would have been singles per se. And the only
Yeah.
reason they did that, and I say the only reason,
One
I'm
of
not
them
trying
was
to
about the
diminish it.
Armenian genocide, right?
The Armenian, yeah, they were doing it for their people as a way to make money, I think, with the songs. But other
Mhm.
than that, none of those guys can get on the same page. I do respect the fact that they know they don't want to break up, and they just want to. They're at a point in their lives from what I understand. I think Serge has different political views than some of the other band members. That's different enough to where it's caused friction, but at the same time, I agree with Darian, the guitar player. He was the writer of the band, and Serge wants to have more of a writing aspect in it. No offense, I've listened to Scars on Broadway. I've listened to Serge's solo stuff. Scars on Broadway is just 10 times better. I think Darian is the writer of that band, and it should stay that way. And so does the rest of the band, for that matter. The bass player and the drummer both agree that
Yeah.
Darian's the writer of System of a Down.
I mean,
So I think Serge and Darian are really the reason why they don't make music, but they respect each other and love each other enough. I know that they won't break up, but they just do shows. They don't do tours. They'll do a show a week or 3 shows in a month or whatever. They do enough to pay their bills and live comfortably, but they won't do any more records. So at
yeah,
least they're
they
still
said
playing
that.
for the fans.
They said that like over a decade ago. I remember when that was like, yeah, we're not doing any more albums. Like it's not going to happen. So, and that's why everybody was like, I remember they had to clarify on social media when they dropped those 2 songs a couple years ago. Like we did this for this purpose. This is the only reason we did this. Like we know we said we weren't going to make new music, but like this is very important to us. Like blah blah blah.
And yeah,
And
the songs are fine, but they wouldn't have been singles from a record. They would have been just
yeah.
decent tracks.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The only thing that I can think of when it comes to Surge's solo stuff is Empty Walls. Like that's the only thing that comes to my mind. I think that was the only thing that ever really gained traction. I don't think Surge's solo career ever went the way he probably hoped it would have. Yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding there. Usually the writer, that was the thing about So though. It was like, yeah, Surge had a really unique voice and obviously, but like the music, the instrumentation was so like intricate in those songs. That's what stands out to me. It's not Surge's voice. It's just that music. How the tempo changes in some of their songs are like breakneck pace shit. Like it'll
That's
give you whiplash.
like Sugar. Hey
Yeah,
man, look at
it's
me rocking out. That's on the radio.
yeah,
Never mind. Sugar's a different song. But
yeah,
same point. Same point. Do great band. I love my favorite record from them is actually the last 2 they did. Like I love Hypnotize and Mesmerize. Great records. So it's probably best they didn't do any more records because I don't think they would have topped them. They wouldn't.
no,
It's like I think Papa Roach, they put out decent stuff every now and again, but I think they probably peaked around 2009.
yeah.
So, but they continue to
I
put out shit, but they'll
well,
play the first record.
like you said, I think every generation has a handful of bands that can continue to live on. Most of them will hit their peak and they should probably take notice. Hey, we should probably stop making music now. But a handful live on. And I would make the argument, and I think the internet has proven that Creed is one of the ones from that era that did live on. And I think they could get away with making new music. And
Oh,
it probably,
yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And Creed's not a new metal band, but they are they're in that class of bands that came
yes,
out during that time.
that generation.
Yeah. Creed is definitely one. Korn has done well. Biscuit's done well, but I really think their lack of activity for a long time helped them. I
Yeah.
really do. I really
Well,
do.
you remember just a couple years after that, the next wave. I don't think anybody. I mean, I could be wrong. You could tell me if I'm wrong, but like Disturbed, I don't hear much about them anymore. I think they had their moment and went. Five Finger Death Punch.
True, but they still do. I mean, Disturbed still they're filling out theaters.
Yeah,
Like they're doing great on tour. But their records, yeah, probably so.
Five Finger Death Punch as well, I would say. And then
I hate
Same
that
thing.
band so much.
So do I. But they had a moment there. They had a moment
To
there
me,
where they were
to
big.
me, Five Finger Death Punch is just dumb redneck rock. Like it's just terrible. It's
It
just
is.
stupid.
And
Like
I hate.
when I went to go, me and Jay went to go see Manson and Five Finger Death Punch. You could tell who was a fan of what band so much when you went to the arena.
Yeah.
Like you could tell who was a Manson fan, and you could tell the Five Finger Death Punch fans. They usually had really short buzz cuts, Affliction T-shirts, and Miss Me
Yep.
jeans with the little diamonds on the ass cheeks.
Studs on the yep.
Like you could tell the different crowds right away.
Yep.
Clearly, I was a
But
Manson guy. So
yeah, and but they had their moment, and then I hate to say this because as much as I love this band, I think it's becoming clear to me now too. Avenged Sevenfold, I think they peaked sonically 2 years ago, and they're still going, and they're still really popular. I don't think their music is anywhere near as good.
no, they're getting too mainstream. They need to like my favorite record, City of Evil, and that record it was so good because they had catchy stuff in it, but musically there was such uncommercial shit all over that record.
Yeah.
So like 8-minute songs, extremely long intros. Like that record's fucking amazing.
I'd make
It's
the
so
argument
raw
that
and real sounding.
that 3-year run, because Sounding the Seventh Trumpet and Waking the Fallen, they're good albums, but I think mainly Waking the Fallen it's good, but it's there's a handful of really good songs on it, and there's some forgettable ones, but like I think the first record they had like front to back that was like, damn, this is pretty solid, was City of Evil. And I would say their run for me where they were at their peak was City of Evil, self-titled, Nightmare. Nightmare was when it started to like kind of go down, and that's when they started to get more mainstream. And
I
Nightmare
hated
was
self-titled when it came out. I've since grown to love it. I
love it.
hated it. I thought I was like, this isn't the same band. Couldn't believe it. But as I get older, I understand that bands change and they mature and they can't make this naturally. You don't listen to all the same shit you did. A certain period, you change, you get into different stuff. So I get it now. But at the time, oh, I was pissed. I was fucking pissed.
Yeah, I love the self-titled. I do
I
remember
love Nightmare. Nightmare is a great record.
I do too, and actually, that when that album came out, a lot of A7X fans were split on it because a lot of them felt like it was too radio rock. But I feel like part of that was just a couple of the songs that got played on the radio. I don't think most of that album is very radio rock. There's a lot of
that was 2010, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Nightmare's a fucking amazing record. I don't care what anybody says.
I don't care much for the lead track because, of course, guys, we all heard Nightmare on the radio 5 times a day in 2010. Like, I got burnt out on that song too. And Welcome to the Family.
But it's kind of I think it's a great horror anthem. I think horror fans would probably love that record. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But from that point, I think from tracks 3 to the end, also, dude, just knowing what was going on with the band at that time, like losing the rev and then like literally
the most
having
talented one too, by the way.
Yes. And
really
literally
was.
having Fiction on that record, having like that was written by him right before he died. And he did get to track vocals for it. And then hearing those fucking lyrics, basically like, hey guys, it's basically like, I'm about to die probably.
It's just, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. I gotta go jogging after this. I'm gonna listen to Avenged Sevenfold. So now I'm
probably gonna listen to City of Evil now. Yeah,
I might do Waking the Fallen, dude. Like I was listening to that shit right before Katrina and right after Katrina. It's such
there is a song that nobody talks about because nobody ever talks about their first album. But I'm just gonna say, Second Heartbeat. I believe is that on sound?
That's on Chapter 4. That's on Waking the Fallen.
It's on Waking the Fallen. Okay, yeah. So what's I don't want to get the name wrong.
The ballad on Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. I have to Google it, but the ballad, it was one of the first songs I learned.
It's Warmness of the Soul that you're thinking of. Yeah, I believe Warmness of the Soul. But the one that I'm thinking of that I really like that nobody ever talks about because nobody ever talks about Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. An Epic of Time Wasted. I love that fucking song.
That is a good
song. That album literally, it sounds like it was recorded in a garage. And like it probably was. But that's part of the allure of that record. And then Waking the Fallen still had some of that, but you could tell they were refining their sound a little bit more. But yeah, dude, Second Heartbeat on Waking the Fallen, dude, that song goes hard as shit. Like, I love, but my favorite song on City of Evil is MIA. It's probably a top 5 Avenged Sevenfold song for me.
Oh, it's majestic. It's like you're floating on a cloud listening to it.
Yep, and it kicks in too. It starts very like, you know, somber, and it gets punchy. I love that song.
Whoa, what is this? Waking the Fallen Resurrected. I've never listened to this. Came out in 2014.
There might be some B-sides on it. I don't know. That
Well,
I would.
It's got the track listings of the record. Oh,
It's a
I was
deluxe
wrong.
edition.
I was not thinking of the song Warmness of the Soul. I was thinking of the one that goes, sorrow set deep inside my blood. I won't see you tonight. That's what I was thinking about. That was
I won't see you
also
tonight.
on.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah, I gotta go jam these guys.
There's some.
I love the band. I hated the fans back in high school because you could tell an Avenged Sevenfold from a mile away. They're
fucking
obnoxious,
Death Bat
right?
T-shirts. Yeah, fucking God.
The buckle belts, like they were obnoxious. They had the wallet too. They always had the Avenged Sevenfold wallet.
And there was a chain. There was a fucking chain on the wallet too, going into their pocket. They always had a fucking chain on the wallet. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I never once owned a Death Bat T-shirt. Like never, and I'm never going to.
I want to get that tattoo, dude.
So do I. Yes, I want a Death Bat tattooed eventually, but like, dude, I remember seeing the fucking, oh my God, those Death Bat T-shirts. I was always like, bro,
they were everywhere.
You're so lame.
Dude, that Orange County scene, they were the one band to break out of that. There was 18 Visions, which is honestly the fucking greatest band that never went huge. Bleeding Through, which was just a hardcore metal band that my brother showed me. They were amazing because they were gothic hardcore. They implemented keyboards and synth in their music, which was brilliant. I love Brandon Chipetti, the singer of that band. But in terms of the Orange County scene, Avenged Sevenfold was a part of that clique. They were the one that broke all the way through. So God bless him.
God bless him. All right, guys, you got 2.5 hours of Uneeda. So this is going to be a fucking tank to export, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. And it was nice to be back. We covered pretty much everything. We talked music, movies, porn, you name it. We did about all of it. So there was something for everybody. So, hey, chime in the conversation down below, guys. Let us know your thoughts on some of the things we talked about. Make sure to leave a like. It helps in the algorithm. Share it with your friends, your dog, your mom. Well, I don't know if your mom would like some of the stuff we say.
Oh, she definitely would. She would definitely like it because I was talking about advocacy for kids.
Yeah, there you go. All right, hell yeah. So, but yeah, Christian, you got anything to say before we sign off?
Thank you all for watching. I always appreciate it.
Well, good shit. All right, guys. We love y'all. We'll see you next time. And until then, I don't have a sign off.
Peace. So.